ó sọ nǹkan kan. So that is how it started. Before we now did his first album, I carry como safejo. That's it, and that's the title, Embargo. And you can see the controversy that went along with that, because the controversy was much. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, okay, that controversy creates the platform for marketability."
But eventually, ìjà wáyé láàrin Safejo àti KSO, Saheed Òṣùpá. Ṣẹ́yìn lẹ pitch Safejo against Saheed Òṣùpá. Ẹ kú dédé àsìkò yìí, ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ ìkànnì Àgbàlẹ̀tù TV Uncensored. Ẹ ṣé tí ẹ tún darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lénìí, ẹ máa wò pé set up wa office like nítorí pé office person la wá bá learned counsel, Barrister Dami Kolawole. Orúkọ yẹn àwọn tó jẹ́ iná kọ̀kọ̀s náà máa mọ Dami Kolawole, but àwọn tí wọ́n ti ń tẹ̀lé music láti bí late 90s wọ early 2000s wọ́n máa mọ alphabet music nítorí àwọn iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n ṣe. So alphabet mo wá bá interview tèmi a pín sí part méjì. A máa kọ́kọ́ bá Dami music yẹn alphabet sọ̀rọ̀, then the other part a máa bá Barrister Dami sọ̀rọ̀. So a máa sọ̀rọ̀ nípa rights, intellectual property, copyright and all that. But the first part yẹn a fẹ́ wo contribution alphabet music sí Yorùbá music. Barrister mo kí yín. Sorry, alphabet mo kí yín.
Okay, tó bá wù kẹ́ pé ẹ ṣé gan, thank you very much.
All right, so ẹ fi promotions sílẹ̀ nítorí law. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́.
Báwo ló ṣe rí?
Well, in tẹ́ sọ yẹn, ó dàbí ìgbà tẹ́ sọ pé ẹ yọ passion mi, ẹ yọ kúrò nínú ara, ẹ yọ ẹ̀jẹ̀ mi, ẹ yọ kúrò nínú ara, ẹ wá yọ omi ara mi gan, ẹ tún wá gbà, kí ló wá kù pẹ̀lú ara ọ̀hún?
So passion yẹn ni entertainment àbí?
Passion in tí ẹ lè gbà kúrò lọ́wọ́ èèyàn ni.
Okay.
Ó yàtọ̀ sí profession.
Okay.
Ó yàtọ̀ sí intellectual development. Passion òun ni music. Music production, passion ni. Music writing, passion ni. Music marketing, passion ni.
But àwọn kan fi wọ́n jókòó tì tó ní profession fún wọn.
Well, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹ mọ̀ pé ó dàbí n tó lórí kankan ni. Ó ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ níbi tó bá bá ara wọn, wọ́n lè má dìídì bára wọn bẹ̀, ṣùgbọ́n ó ní n tó máa lé wọn débẹ̀. Ìgbà míì ebi ń lé èèyàn dé nǹkan, àti jẹ àti mú ó yàtọ̀ síra wọn. So ní sáà ibi tá a bára wa ní, within the context of environment tá a bára wa, ẹlòmíì passion ní ẹ padà di profession ní, ẹlòmíì profession ní ó padà di passion ní. Láti kékeré lọmọ òyìnbó ti máa ń là á, ó máa là á pé wò ó ọmọ yìí ti ń da lérú, gbogbo ìgbà tó bá ti rí fóònù àfi ìgbà tó yẹ pé kó tọ̀bẹ bọ̀, ó dà pé iṣẹ́ ọmọ yìí máa fẹ́ gba
kó máa tún nǹkan ṣe.
technical. So technical and skillful development ni wọ́n máa gbé ọmọ yẹn gbà. Láti kékeré ẹ̀ ti rọ́mọ mi, kẹ́ tó sọ argument ti bẹ̀rẹ̀, kẹ́ tó sọ bí ó ti ó mọ tó máa fi dá yín lóhùn. Irú ọmọ yẹn á good ní cross examination. Ọmọ yẹn á good ní trial. So in such situation, in a developed clime, a máa ti ọmọ yẹn sí area art, area linguistics, area literature development, area mass communication. So ibi yìí bọ́mọ gan láìkì láti jẹ́ lọ́ọ̀yà, bó láìkì láti jẹ́ lọ́ọ̀ doctor, eré kó wọ yunifásitì, ìyá mi gan ò máa ní kó lọ ṣe education. Ṣé n tọ́mọ yẹn ní passion fún lẹ́tì sí, àbí nǹkan tí ọmọ yẹn fẹ́ develop professionally lórí? A gbọ́dọ̀ là á. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ Nàìjíríà yìí sìn ó study Yorùbá, wọ́n believe pé tó bá ní connection pé wàá ṣiṣẹ́ ń bank, rí i pé that is a square peg in a round hole. So those are the things that ó sì máa mitigate, ó dẹ̀ máa affect. There is always the plus and the minus.
Now, báwo lẹ ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ artist promotion, management, production àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ?
Foundation wa ni Because if you are talking about, colleagues then like Feishara Akinwumi, if you are talking about Femi Ojetunde, the likes of them, you know that
àwọn caucus
were bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, in those days when I was very young, I was still in secondary school, my friend Agbo Shadari and the rest of them, there's one other person then, Samuel Ayuke, yes, growing up days wanye was in church, and bí ọmọ tó fẹ́ rò ń pé o ò ní lọ sí church, o ò ní rope ní àárín choir, ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀ tó tó ẹ láyé yìí ò sí, wọ́n á kọ́kọ́ máa sọ fún ẹ pé kó lọ máa tọrọ ìdáríjì ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ni pé o ò kọrin, so development wà nìyẹn, specifically for me from the apostolic church, so ó rí ẹ̀ nígbà tí bàbá ẹ bá jẹ́ elder tí ìyá ẹ jẹ́ deaconess kò má ní ipa tó ń kó ní church, ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀ ni ẹ o.
As a young person,
yes,
tendency pé kẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ pé choir lẹ ti máa bẹ̀rẹ̀.
Choir ni now nígbà tá a bá rẹ̀ sí àwọn tó ń ta jìtá á ti máa hùn ẹ́ pé eléyìí ó máa hùn mí, eléyìí ó máa hùn mí, wọ́n á ti máa tì ẹ́ sọ́tún, wọ́n á máa tì ẹ́ sósì pé lọ ṣe léyìí, ìwọ náà ṣe léyìí, wẹ́n tó ta jìtá yẹn o ò rí bí ìmísí ṣe sọ̀kalẹ̀, o ò rí bí gbogbo ẹ̀ náà làwọn máa tẹ̀lé nígbà yẹn. But you see, I had that thing in me, and I started from the church, I bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí máa play musical instrument. O di pé gradually.
Instrument will then play?
Well, I started with violin.
Oh, interesting.
My very first instrument ever, tí mo ever lay hands on was violin.
Violin kò ń ṣe one of the popular instruments.
Yes, in this part of the world. So I graduated from violin to bass guitar.
Okay.
Then I moved on from bass guitar to lead guitar. Then I moved on from there to keyboard.
Church and play.
A ní kò lè kúrò lára ni. Mi ò mọ̀ bá ṣe fẹ́ sọ, ṣé pentatonic scale la fẹ́ sọ ni àbí kò lè kúrò lára, it's part of you. There's nothing you can do about that. And with all that put together, the rudiments to writing song came into it. And then we started putting songs together. And from then, we moved further. Studio leni, backup artist leni, ṣiṣẹ́ artist kan leni, ṣiṣẹ́ artist kan lọ́la. We started actually putting, music together.
So the time tí Bọ́dá Fẹ́mi Ọ̀jẹ̀túndé tí wọ́n produce àwọn Shina Peters.
Yeah, àjọ máa ń lọ kiri. Àjọ máa ń lọ kiri ni.
Àwọn artist wo lẹ rántí pé ẹ ṣiṣẹ́ nu albums wọn? Nígbà yẹn mi ti sọ̀rọ̀ alphabet o.
In those days, tẹ́ bá mọ Akin Adébáyọ̀,
Ìmọ́lẹ̀ Ayọ̀,
tá à ń pè ní Ìmọ́lẹ̀ Ayọ̀, atajìtánú iṣẹ́ ẹ̀ nígbà yẹn ní Decca, ibi tá à ń pè ní Decca. Ṣé mo lè rántí rẹ́kọ̀dì yẹn ṣá? Ibi tá à ń pè ní Decca Aphrodisia ní Yaba. I could remember quite well. Then I remember quite well pé the beginning of Sunny Okonso's job, that's gospel music.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
I was part, and then later became part of Sunny Okonso's band.
Okay.
ZD band then. Then I could
also not the gospel band, Abi.
No, the real Okonso, the ZD band. Yes. Our tours there we were together. I could also remember, Golden Tones, Benson and Edges. I was part of the tours, Golden Tones. And then we moved to real performance, stage performance, Francis Goldman, Alex Zito, Daniel Wilson, I was a lead guitar in all those bands then. Yeah. And then eventually, we formed the first band, the artist you call Femi Kolawole, which we called then Positive Force. I was a lead guitarist then too.
Audition, recruit
in tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ní pé wọ́n gbé mi wá sórí stage Fẹlá Níkúlápó Kútì ńgbà yẹn ni as a very small boy.
Fẹlá?
Yes.
Okay.
As a very small boy. There's this small boy tó ń ta guitar. I was in secondary school. I was very small. So, it was a wow thing. Pé ọmọ ìkéré tó yẹ pé ńgbà yẹn PM News wọ́n gbé jáde. Pé ọmọ yìí ni ọmọ tó kéré jù tó ń ta guitar. So it was from there ni mo wá mix up pẹ̀lú àwọn musical instrumentalists tó ń bá wọn ṣiṣẹ́. Then the shrine was at this where you call Computer Village now. Okay. So then we started a band. I joined them, and the band became Positive Force, and that is the band for Femi Kuti today.
Okay, so I joined Sonny Okosun before Femi Kuti.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Then even then, with Sonny Okosun, then I was with another juju artist, Adeolu Shayo.
Okay.
That singer like Sonny Ade.
Around what year?
Ṣé mo wá lè rántí báyìí? Màá gbé paper láti máa lọ máa wo.
80s ni àbí?
No.
90s.
About 90s. Yes.
Okay.
90s. I was small.
Is your record pẹ̀lú Adeolu Shayo?
No.
Okay.
No. Adeolu Shayo then was not he was not a record artist per se, but a performance artist.
Okay.
More often a stage artist.
More solid on the stage.
Yes, now when you are looking for King Sunny Ade then and you can't find Sunny Ade, you'll be going for people like Adeolu Shayo and co.
Okay.
It was quite solid then.
Okay.
So that is the earliest stage before music production came in.
Now, ṣé ẹ pẹ́ pẹ̀lú Femi Kuti?
Not so long. Kí tó kúrò níbẹ̀. Because I already had the mind for music production then.
Okay. So, just from Femi Kuti lẹ lọ bẹ̀rẹ̀ music production?
Yes.
Ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ alphabet immediately?
I did not register the company at that time, but I started music production. So
I want
more
you to
often,
then produce.
More often then, more often you would regard me as a studio rat. What you call studio rat, people who are more or less, around the music studio. You get. So then, it was afterwards a cool real mix came up, at the studio for Lagos State Government. But before then, there are other studios that we work. So the first artist that not the first artist I produced, but the first artist I handled that I actually entered into a contract with, promoted the album, produced the album and released the album was Isiaka Ishola.
Isiaka Ishola.
The one you know today as Askari.
Oh, okay. Askari don't call Fuji.
Yeah.
Olokpa don't call Fuji.
That's correct. You see, that was the first artist I actually did then and produced and actually market the job.
Not as alphabet music, have you?
As alphabet
As
music.
alphabet music.
Yeah.
So, Askari, the first ever artist in,
Yeah.
that was what year? What the man was, yeah.
Askari was 1998, thereabout, I guess.
Okay.
Askari was 1998.
So, experience in Kote shape pẹ̀lú Askari, show encouraging, Abewa discouraged.
No, you see, look, if you start off with a music production and then you actually market the job and the job is in the market for people to actually assess, it is not for you to immediately think monetary reward. It is for you to think success of the process of such music, the fact that it's able to get across to the people. And if you look at that, the first time, if you are thinking money, I will tell you as a matter of fact that if you are thinking money at that time, then you are making a very big mistake.
Ṣé torí pé ẹ̀yin bówó ńlé because mo gbọ́ pé ọmọ olówó ni.
Kí ló ń jẹ́ pé èèyàn bówó ńlé?
Yes, àwọn parents ní property ní Ìkẹjà yìí.
That is not an issue.
But kò sí rọ́mbẹ̀.
Well, I don't know. You understand the context at which you are coming, but one thing I know is that everybody ló bówó ńlé.
Nah, everybody can go.
You see, that is rebutable. That is debatable. Everybody may believe in bówó ńlé. It only depends on what you have at hand.
Àwọn kan bá gbèsè lé.
No, even ìgbèsè gan, at times, is an opportunity. Let me tell you, see, it depends on what you have at hand. You see, if you are given a lemon, you could make a juice out of it. It depends on what you see. Mo mọ àwọn èèyàn tó yẹ pé you probably feel that material wealth ní pọ́n bówó ńlé today, you will be shocked that there's nothing to write home about. Whatever you have at hand, how you are able to announce what you have at hand, that is the most important thing.
Anyway, the point I'm coming from ni pé for a Dami Kolawole venturing into music production and promotion, ẹ wá ṣe first iṣẹ́ yín Askari tó kọ Fuji, bóyá ẹ make profit àbẹ make loss, kò really matter. Ẹ máa ń láti ṣe the next one nítorí pé ẹ ní gbèsè kankan àbí ẹ ní nǹkan kan behind to hold yín back àbí mo ti yáwó ní bank kan tí mo fi venture into this job.
One thing I know is this: music production in this part of the world is not a system which is supported by government.
Yeah.
If you are doing it, you are solely doing it on your own. Crafts, sporting activity, intellectual property is not being supported by the system we practice. So if you are a sportsman, you probably might have actually gbẹrù to a certain stage kí wọ́n tó lè rí ẹ.
Wàá gbé débi kan.
In fact, wàá ti gbé dé success kí wọ́n tó lè rí ẹ.
Wọ́n ṣe identify pẹ̀lú
Kọ́ tó
success.
The government identify with the success you have made, not that the government try to amass talents from the scratch. My interest then was thinking in line with, okay, how do I, amass this talent? Okay, I could see a direction in this. What can I do? So if I think in that context, then I start to plan. Even though there were so many artists that were flocking around me in terms of, expertise in putting, the act of music together. But I saw in this person, then looking at my own foundation as a son of a retired senior police officer, putting back into Nigerian police will be also an advantage by using that artist then.
So that was the connection.
It was more of a connection.
Okay.
And then the, what I call the talent I discovered in that artist himself.
Okay.
You understand? So that came together and then it was much easier for me to...
So that was about his first recording?
Very first.
Okay.
And, after then, you don't have Wale Tekuma.
The next artist take be around what year? 98, 99?
Wale Tekuma came around 2000 thereabouts.
Ibo ni Wale Tekuma wa. People are not talking about Wale Tekuma.
Wale Tekuma wa, Wale Tekuma is there.
Tekuma actually play music.
Yes, of course. Yes. You see, there are
because
so many...
in the mix of Fuji artists.
Well, you see, if he is not getting himself into controversies with other artists, if he is not responding like other artists should respond, if he is not actively developing his craft to, Fuji has, one way or the other synonymous with some sense of gangsterism, and you have to really hit the ground running at all time. If he's not doing all that, does not mean he's not still actively, in the music industry. He's still there.
Now, for Wale Tekuma, first...
Very first.
Okay, so the first one, Askari, was the first.
Yes.
The second one, not a known artist.
Absolutely no.
Wale Tekuma,
yes.
The third artist.
The third artist after Wale Tekuma was a gospel artist.
Who?
That is Adejoke Bankole.
Omolope.
Yes. That was the third artist. It was after her you have Shanko.
Now, before Katododo Shanko, Adejoke Bankole Omolope,
yes.
Was that her first?
Yes.
So why did she carve niche, building from the scratch for an artist?
You see, what is most common in the industry then between marketers and promoters are the interest to catch an artist that has a market value. It means that what you are thinking about then was basically ROI.
Return on investment.
That's all. Nobody was thinking about the development of the talent and nursing the talent, developing the talent to become what will give you that ROI. You see? Now, you that are musically inclined, you want to look at the artist. You want to look at the artist's background. You want to look at the package of that artist. You are not just thinking about the market. I don't only think about the market. I think about the artist, the musical composition of the artist, the development of that musical composition, looking at the market. Because I was not only looking at the market. Market nìkan okay o, kí làwọn èèyàn ń gbọ́. Yàtọ̀ sí nǹkan táwọn èèyàn ń gbọ́, kí làwọn èèyàn fẹ́ gbọ́. Then, táwọn èèyàn bá gbọ́ irú nǹkan báyìí, báwo ló ṣe máa rí lọ́jà.
But tẹ́ bá claim wípé owó market nìkan why tó jẹ́ wípé ẹ ṣe iṣẹ́ kan pẹ̀lú ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ ẹ wá feature brother Jibola Pasuma.
I'll tell you the reason. You see, music then was more of entertainment. You see, you have to separate the religiosity idea from entertainment. Nǹkan ó yàtọ̀ síra wọn. Now, I was able to do research nínú àwọn tèmi wò tèmi rí tí mo research lé lórí tí ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wá ń jẹyọ nísìn. Mo jẹ́ káwọn èèyàn mọ̀ pé ṣẹ́rí ọ̀tọ̀ ní craft yìí, ọ̀tọ̀ ní development of expertise of intellectualism, ó yàtọ̀ sí n tẹ́ ń pè nẹ́sìn ọ̀hún tá a mọ̀ sí ẹ̀sìn. Then a tún wá mọ̀ pé nǹkan kan wà nígbà yẹn lèmi ti mọ̀ nǹkan kan wà tá à ń pè ní idealistic tendency n tá à ń rò, nǹkan kan dẹ̀ wà tá à ń pè ní realistic tendency in tí ó jẹ́ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ lórí tó dẹ̀ wà proven by science. Now religion àwa mọ̀ ń gbà yẹn pé èèyàn ló ń create ẹ̀ tó lóyìnbó pè ní social construct. Èèyàn ló ń create ẹ̀ ìtọ́lọ́hún bá create kò ní sàmúlùmálà káàkiri eléyìí sọ pé títí ẹ̀ báyìí ni tọ̀hún sọ pé rárá orí náà fi ń rìn wọn ò fẹsẹ̀ rìn rárá. But tó bá yẹ pé èèyàn ló create social construct ó máa ń yàtọ̀ o. Òjò àárọ̀ èèyàn kan ló create ẹ o. You understand? Àwọn nǹkan kan wà tó jẹ́ pé òótọ́ ni, àwọn nǹkan kan wà tó jẹ́ pé fact ni. Òótọ́ àti fact yàtọ̀ síra wọn o. Tó bá yẹ pé òótọ́ ni ta ló ń sọ òótọ́ yẹn in tó kọjú sí yàn kan alẹ́ yìí ló kọ sẹ́yìn ìmí ìpò òótọ́ tó kọ sí ẹ nǹkan míì ní lẹ́yìn, òótọ́ tó jẹ́ kọjú sẹ́yìn tó wà lẹ́yìn náà nǹkan míì ní fẹ́ tó wà níwájú. So they are two different things. So the fact ń pé wọ́n sọ pé ọ̀nà òtítọ́ ní títí ẹ òtítọ́ yẹn dẹ̀ rí òtítọ́ tí gbogbo ayé Ọlọ́run ló mú wá, òtítọ́ yẹn ò sí ní China kò dẹ̀ sí ní ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn monks o. Ìtọ́lọ́run bá dá, it is proven, it is natural, it is divine, it is eternal. Tabara pé nǹkan dẹ̀ wà eternal in such context ó gbọ́dọ̀ it was within the context of generalization la gbọ́dọ̀ pè. So in tí ò bá ti rí bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn èèyàn ló ń dún. So nǹkan táwa mọ̀ láti gbà yẹn nìyẹn. But lẹ́nìí àwọn èèyàn náà ti ń come to the realization pé àwọn tó ń kọrin entertainer ni wọ́n. Ó wá irú orin tẹ́ni yẹn bá wá ń kọ ọ̀tọ̀. Irú orin tó bá ń kọ ó lè máa kọ Fuji kó máa fi yan lọ́hùn, ó lè máa kọ jùjú kó máa fi yan lọ́hùn, ó lè máa kọ àpàlà kó fi yan lọ́hùn, ó lè kọ dísíkò kó fi yan lọ́hùn. In tó bá hùn kó fi yan lọ́hùn òun ló méde tó hùn tó fẹ́ fi yin ọba àwọn ọba tí a kò fojú rí.
Àwọn èèyàn critique ń gbà yẹn pé wà ìtẹ̀ṣe ló.
Oh yes, ó pọ̀ rẹpẹtẹ náà. Yes, nítorí pé Pasuma ọmọ Ọlọ́run ni. Àbí?
But àwọn èèyàn sọ pé ó ní Fuji ni. Ó yẹ kí clear cut division wà láàrin gospel music and Fuji music.
Ó ní Fuji ọmọ Ọlọ́run. Èèyàn Ọlọ́run ló ní Fuji. Ẹ̀dá àlàyé ni.
Ẹ tún wá kọ brother.
Torí pé orúkọ ẹ̀ nìyẹn. Orúkọ ẹ̀ nìyẹn. Orúkọ ẹ̀ ní àkàn fún lórúkọ. Ẹni tá a pè ní Jíbọ́lá. Orúkọ ẹ̀ ló ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀. Kò ń ṣe èèyàn ló fún, kò ń ṣàwàlà fún lórúkọ, ìdírí orúkọ ẹ̀ nìyẹn. Up till today orúkọ ẹ̀ ṣe ni. Ó ń lọ church, ó ń bá wọn tó ń gbàdúrà ṣe, ó ń bá wọn ẹlẹ́sìn ṣe, ó ń lọ kò sí ibi tí ò lọ. Nítorí pé iṣẹ́ tí a rán nìyẹn. Ṣé understand? Olúwayé Fuji Wasiu Ayinde ó ń lọ church.
Àwọn tiẹ̀ láwọn tún kọ́ church ní
so ṣé ó stọ́pù ṣé rí ẹ̀sìn àti gbogbo àwọn ẹ̀yà oríṣiríṣi ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà yìí ẹ̀tàn ni. Yes, níta tó lóyìnbó ń pè ní optical illusion.
Majek fẹsẹ̀ kí ni religion is politics.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, you see there is an aspect of argument tó yẹ pa máa lọ that you will understand that the political aspect of religion a study yẹn léèwé politics ní gbogbo ẹ̀. because tabasi ní ká tún dig inú yẹn ká tún lọ sí foundation even bá ṣe gba ẹ̀sìn ọ̀hún ẹni tó bá fún ẹ ní nǹkan ó wàá lè mọ̀ tó ẹni tó fún ẹ ó yá ẹ lò ní òun tó bá dẹ̀ fún ẹ ó ní reason tó fún ẹ you see kò sẹ́nibọ̀dì tó lè fún ẹ ní nǹkan kan tí Ọlọ́run ò fún ẹ kó má ní ìdí pàtàkì tó fi fún ẹ colonialism and imperialism òun ló di pé à ń gba ẹ̀sìn because tí ò bá sí yẹn tí ò bá sáwọn merchant tó wá kí náà wá sí ibi iṣẹ́ àyanjú ọ̀nà wá ni wọ́n wá gold wọ́n wá silver wọ́n wá business náà bá dé so business náà dẹ̀ bá dé wọ́n ní láti fún wa ní ohun wọ́n máa gbé nǹkan lé wa lọ́wọ́ tá a máa wò ohun tó ń gbé lọ́wọ́ tá a máa wò yẹn ó gbọ́dọ̀ tó wà divisive ohun yẹn ó tún gbọ́dọ̀ mú ọkàn wá débi tẹ́ pa máa rò pé ibì kan wà tá à ń lọ ń pé ibẹ̀ yẹn láti máa jèrè iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ tá a ṣe lórí ilẹ̀ ayé.
but ìyẹn ò change gbogbo ìròyìn nípa the Apostolic Church.
no look see ọ̀nà kó nà tó bá ń wẹ̀ láti fi gbà sí Ọlọ́run ẹ̀ sìn freedom ni in fact nínú òfin tá a ṣe àtúnpadà mọ̀ kó wà nínú constitution wa nínú chapter 4 right wa section 38 gbọ́dọ̀ kọ síbẹ̀ gan ni freedom to your thoughts to your conscience and your religion see it means you are free to choose the direction tí freedom yẹn tí o bá ti affect freedom ẹlòmíì tí o bá affect freedom ẹlòmíì o máa lọ máa lùgbà díẹ̀ nínú clause section 45 so problem tá a ní èmi máa ń sọ mo dẹ̀ máa ń tún sọ lack of consciousness ó pẹ̀lú tó wọ́rí iwájú ní Áfíríkà tẹ́ bá dẹ̀ wò àwọn ìlú kọ̀ọ̀kan láfíríkà tí ń rí ń sìn pé ó dàbí ayé Gaddafi táwọn èèyàn ágì ń gbà yẹn èèyàn burúkú ní èèyàn ọ̀ka ní èèyàn bí ní mo ní ẹni tó bá ti ní ìdàpọ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn òyìnbó ò ní bá ẹ ṣe nǹkan kan kò ní bá ẹ dá nǹkan kan papọ̀ tí ò bá ní interest tiẹ̀ ṣe rí ìlú tẹ̀ ń sọ yẹn nígbà tó bá yá nísìn àwọn aráàlú yẹn wọ́n á máa worship ẹ̀ tẹ̀ ń pè ní Gaddafi á dàbí ọlọ́run wọn ni lẹ́nìí nísìn ṣé bí ìlú Tripoli ṣe rí nígbà àti tiẹ̀ lórí báyìí ti di òyìnbó tí wọ́n ti àwọn tó fẹ́ àwọn jẹgúnújẹrá wọ́n ti tẹ̀yìn bọ̀ nígbà yẹn tí olúwayé Fuji kó àwọn tó dálẹ̀ wọ́n ti ganu sí àbẹ́rẹ́ rí nǹkan báyìí wọ́n ṣe ń fi straw tó ń fi ń fa epo wọn náà ń fi machine náà fi ń kó àwọn ọrọ̀ ajé wọn bó ṣe rí nìyẹn.
ntí Abacha kọ ní Nàìjíríà láyé ọjọ́ yẹn.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni gbogbo ẹni tó bá ń kọ́ tẹ́ bá lọ wò dáadáa wọn kì í gbà kẹ́ni yẹn fẹ́ survive òyìnbó ò fẹ́ challenge bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni láyé nǹkan tó bring about imperialism and colonialism sí Africa resistance àwọn tó resist yẹn tipátipá ni nígbà tó wá rí pé resistance wọn fẹ́ pọ̀ àwọn eléyìí ní backup resistance wọn fẹ́ pọ̀ wọ́n bá tún kó bọ́ndé so ẹni láti gba ọlọ́run òyìnbó tipátipá ni torí pé tẹ́ bá gba ọlọ́run yẹn lẹ gbọ́dọ̀ mọ̀ pé ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ yájú sí àwọn olórí yín so that wọ́n á lè máa kó gbogbo ohun àlùmọ́nì yín.
all right back to our discussion inú mi dùn pé àyà ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ ká tún bá
gbà. gbọ́dọ̀ má digress.
nǹkan tẹ́ fẹ́ achieve by featuring brother Jibola Pasuma no marketability.
yes ó pẹ̀lú.
then key sales kó wá.
ó pẹ̀lú.
ṣe
entertainment ó pẹ̀lú.
ṣó ṣiṣẹ́.
kò sí bí ò ṣe ní ṣiṣẹ́ even tẹ́ bá wò ó take time díẹ̀ ká tó gbé area future yẹn jáde because n ta máa ń pè ní market gimmick kò ń ṣe gbogbo èèyàn ló mọ̀ àwọn ohun tá a kọ́kọ́ gbé jáde ó yàtọ̀ sí pé a future brother Jibola Pasuma n ta kọ́kọ́ gbé jáde ó yàtọ̀ in fact iṣẹ́ yẹn gan àti bá dé 90% ká tó wò ó pé n tó sọ́ńbì yìí a lè lo ẹni báyìí kó dá ẹ lóhùn àwọn èèyàn níta bá lò àṣé wọn ní sọ pé kìnnìkan direction tá a gbé ní ìgbà àti create system of music kan fún ta ló ń jọba ní Nàìjíríà lórí system of music yẹn ẹni yìí ni tá bá lò ó ń bí yìí pé kó fi ohùn síbí á dá wàhálà lẹ̀ wàhálà tó máa dá sílẹ̀ ń tà pé ní controversy ó máa ń develop marketability ni so àwọn nǹkan tá a wá ṣe nìyẹn kò ń ṣe pé ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn là ń sọ rárá because tẹ́ bá ní ká lọ sí ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn ní díẹ̀ Jésù olùgbàlà aráyé ọmọ Ọlọ́run ó wá láti wá gba àwọn wo ó wá láti wá gba àwọn ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀ ni kò ń ṣàwọn tí ò lẹ́ṣẹ̀ àwọn ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀.
ẹ bọ̀ tá a bá sàmì ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ kò sẹ́ni tó lè dúró.
ẹ gbọ́ mi a sọ pé kò sẹ́ni tó lè dúró ń tà ń sọ ní pé kí ló wá fún.
ó wá láti wá gba ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀.
so báwo la ṣe wá fẹ́ mú àwọn ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀ tá a bá fún wọn ní nǹkan tó fẹ́.
ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀ ni Paso ni.
and Paso báwọn ṣe lẹ́ṣẹ̀ a sọ pé lẹ́ṣẹ̀ lòun but àwọn tó ń gbọ́ rárá àpò wọn lẹ́lẹ́ṣẹ̀ a fẹ́ fà wọ́n wá sínú Jésù ni.
torí pé ta Jésù náà wà tẹ́lẹ̀.
nítorí pé a sọ pé bóyá nu Jésù àbí ta náà wà ẹni tó mọ̀ pé ta òun wà òun ló máa wá síbẹ̀ ẹni tó wà níbẹ̀ ó máa appreciate pé òun ti wà níbẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ á tún máa fa àwọn tí ò tí ì wá síbẹ̀ á máa fa wọn wá síbẹ̀ ni.
na nǹkan tẹ experiment pẹ̀lú ní 99 àbí.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
ni ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ yẹn.
rárá o 2003 2004 there.
okay bí second album ni àbí fún ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́.
first album.
no ẹ sọ wípé ẹ ti kọ́kọ́ ṣe kan.
Wálé Tẹkùmá.
after Wálé Tẹkùmá.
ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́.
lẹ́sẹ̀ ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
okay so mi pe second album ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ lẹ ti feature Pasuma.
first album.
yíyàwó lẹ wá ṣe.
first album ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ nìyẹn.
yíyàwó ni.
that is 2003 2004 thereabouts.
so between time tẹ ṣe Tẹkùmá sí 2003 ṣé ẹ ṣiṣẹ́ kankan.
no lẹ́yìn Tẹkùmá first album Tẹkùmá title then was Anything Can Happen.
okay.
second album Tẹkùmá òun la pè ní Abàmì ọmọ tó ń jẹ dọ́là.
okay.
third album Tẹkùmá òun ni Unification. After Unification ni ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ in fact ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ and Unification almost the same year bí nǹkan ni wọ́n máa fẹ́ jáde.
Unification yẹn Tẹkùmá sí ta lọ́jọ́ ṣe.
Tẹkùmá Wasiu Alabi Pasuma and Sule Alao Malaika.
mo rántí orin kan Unification rẹ o.
jẹjẹ lọmọ Èkó ń lọ. That's it.
okay all right so ẹ ṣiṣẹ́ Pasuma pẹ̀lú ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ kí n kúrò ńbẹ̀ point wo ni Shanko wọlé.
Carnival kan wà tí wọ́n ń ṣe ní Radio Lagos ó dà ní pé end of the year carnival yẹn though nígbà yẹn tí àwọn churches bá ń ṣe musical concert mo máa ń lọ màá dúró síbi kan máa wo nǹkan tó ń ṣe tí n bá gbọ́ gbogbo nǹkan tó ń ṣe mo máa ń develop àwọn ideas tí bá develop àwọn ideas yẹn màá save àwọn ideas yẹn màá fi sílẹ̀ àwọn churches tí ṣe máa ń lọ ẹ̀ mo máa ń wo wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe so musical festival mo máa ń lọ mo máa ń wo nǹkan tó ń ṣe ń bẹ̀ màá wo èyí tó make sense màá wo èyí tí màá kọ́ wọn pé nǹkan tẹ́yìn tó bá dẹ̀ ṣe báyìí tó bá ṣe báyìí kò bá dẹ̀ dáa o so bá ṣe máa ń ṣe nìyẹn end of the year carnival tó ń ṣe ní Radio Lagos LTV8 ńgbà yẹn ibẹ̀ ni mo lọ ní àwọn oríṣiríṣi èèyàn ń gun stage náà kọrin láwọn èèyàn kan wá sọ fún mi pé ọmọ kan wá láti Ìbàdàn ń pé ọmọ yẹn ń pé ó dẹ̀ ní talent o pé bọ̀tì Ìbàdàn ló bèèsì ń pa àwọn fẹ́ kiri n bá rí ọmọ náà wọ́n bá mú wá bá mi mo bá rí ọmọ náà kúrú náà ló kún gbogbo orí yìí kúrú náà that is skin infection wọ́n á ní ń bọ́ ló ti wá ó láti Ìbàdàn ta ló mú ẹ wá láti Ìbàdàn ó lóun dá wá ní òun tẹ̀lé bọ́ọ̀sì wá ní òun dẹ̀ wá sí Èkó
Agbalẹ̀tù Radio Vision ó jalè jákó Agbalẹ̀tù Radio Vision ó lẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ Agbalẹ̀tù Radio Vision ó stand out Agbalẹ̀tù Radio Vision gbogbo ayé ló ń gbọ́ Ìbàdàn làwọn tá ti ń gbọ́ sáfẹ́fẹ́ Agbalẹ̀tù Radio Vision ó jalè jákó Agbalẹ̀tù Radio Vision ó lẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ rédíò táyé ń gbọ́ ó stand out Agbalẹ̀tù Radio Vision
kí ni èyí Shanko time ten sọ.
Shanko kéré ńgbà yìí ó kéré but not exactly ń pò kéré but within the context of package age ta fún ó yàtọ̀ sí exact age
reduce it.
Yes.
By how many?
Reduction there will be more or less like 5 or 6, 7 years.
Yes. Yọ kúrò ńbẹ̀.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni. Packaging. I told you that what we're doing is actually entertainment. Okay. You understand?
So, what make Shanko to be 15 now?
Maybe 13, 14 thereabouts.
Okay. So, why reduce to be 8?
Be 6 or 7 then. and we actually, codenaming the youngest Fuji artist in the world. So even the picture that taken by was a compressed, idea of his, exact physique. It was compressed. So our interest was to, create a package. Even his real name was not the name everybody knows him as. So we gave him a name. His real name is Rashid Ojetayo.
Okay.
So we created an idea for him, and we said, "Oh, okay, fine. Let's check out Bintini. No, it doesn't go well. Check out Randuni. No, it doesn't correlate." We were thinking of an idea, and the idea came, and we actually gave him that Shanko. So it is synonymous to somebody really very small. So I created an idea. I wrote a song, at least to herald his coming.
In the right of mind.
Yes.
I only would.
There are so many songs we wrote for him then, but there's the particular one we wrote, which we were trying to use to advise our ọmọ kékèké. Ọmọ tí ó bá ti kú agbélé ta kọta. Wá lọ ṣẹ́ṣó yes. Àbí kó lọ gbé bọn. Táráyé bá gbà mú. Wọ́n kì í gbé olè. Ẹ wá wọlé. Ẹ wá wọlé. So that idea was created. And then when we created the idea, it was nice. Other persons, to man bá mi gbélé, actually had something to eat, one, flavor or the other. So it was basically done on my table. And nígbà tí mo ṣe yẹn tán, the next thing I need to do is experiment with it in the studio, which I did, and it was nice. And the next thing we did, akọ̀jú sórí rédíò káwọn èèyàn ṣe máa sample ẹ̀ wò. And nígbà yẹn, the likes of Gbenga Adeboye, the likes of Toba Opaleye of blessed memory, the likes of Kola Olóòtú ọmọ Àdàbánìjà in Ibadan. You understand? In fact, I happened to be the first person that bought a radio program in Lagos and brought Kola Olóòtú to come and start that radio program in Lagos. And I was able to use him and other persons. In time, your government, sponsor àwọn sọ̀rọ̀sọ̀rọ̀ ń pòkè owó rè kọ́kọ́ lọ bẹ̀rẹ̀ program títí ẹ̀. You understand? So most of them were now making noise about it. Then I now had problem. I had problem for bringing Kola Olóòtú to Lagos because àwọn sọ̀rọ̀sọ̀rọ̀ tó wà lẹ́kọ̀ọ́, they were not comfortable with it. So they had a meeting and most of them said, iṣẹ́ Shanko tí mo fẹ́ ṣe, they shouldn't, honor, the adverts on their program.
Okay.
And the fact that they kind of, placed a clamor on it also now gave me the impetus to go further to AIT then. And I did a video and placed it on AIT. So all the platform by which I could make noise about it, I was making noise about it heavily, including Kola Olóòtú. Kola Olóòtú did a lot then. Yeah, the way Kola Olóòtú talks. Bó ṣe máa ń sọ̀rọ̀.
The hype.
So, irú ọmọ yìí, nígbà tí èèyàn bá lọ gbọ́ ọmọ ìkókó, tó sì mọ mú ìyá ẹ̀ tó ní ó wá kọrin, alphabet tún dé o. And so the noise was much. Then, I was to release Omolope. In Omolope's poster, I now compressed Shanko's picture. That people should wait for it. So the noise was much. And then when it came out, it was a shock. It was a shock.
That was 2003, Abby.
No. Shanko should be like 2005 or so thereabouts.
No, for the year 2005. Tori, èmi pàdé yín ní OSRC, and that was before 2003, maybe 2002.
Shanko?
Benny.
No, Shanko cannot be 2002.
Would other.
Shanko cannot be 2002. No. I'll check, but Shanko cannot be 2002. No. Not Shanko. No.
But definitely not 5. In fact, not 4. So the Mimobi Timo first time Tima Foju coin was OSRC. I was Ori Ile Alayo.
Okay.
And by 2003 means Motikuroni.
But Shanko is not within the, because all that time was more of Wale Ayinde Tekuma.
Ọjọ́ tí mò ń sọ yìí, Ẹgbẹ́ Ẹ̀yìn, Ẹgbẹ́ Sáfẹ́jọ́ àti Shanko wa.
Uh-huh.
2 ni àbí ló wà registered
On the internet. That probably
around that time.
That probably could not be the time of the release of the album. Nah, it's not 2002. I'll check, but it's not 2002.
Okay, so ẹ invest lórí Shanko. On the other hand, báwo lẹ ṣe handle the permission from the parents and
oh yes, you see, like I would continually say that already had the intuition, for academics. And I know a bit of the rules then, at least peripherally, that Shanko does not stand capacity to sign a contract. So we actually solicited with the father and the mother, and then they created a date for us to come, and we went to meet them
in
Ibadan. We paid them, and then, they actually entered into a contractual agreement with us, regarding their son.
There were aware pé Shanko at any point gbé ilé Rẹ̀mí Àlùkò rí. Or bóyá Rẹ̀mí Àlùkò ló ti kọ́kọ́ house Shanko before kí Shanko tó mọ̀ ẹ́.
No, you see, one thing that I know is that at his very youthful stage,
Who?
At Shanko's
Shanko.
very youthful stage,
Okay.
he lives with everybody.
Oh, okay.
He goes to everybody. He relates to everybody. In fact, I could remember quite well that for us to record him at times, Amama Lekirini, today wọ́n sọ pé Amukoko ló wà, tomorrow wọ́n sọ pé ọ̀dọ̀ Saheed Òṣùpá ló wà, ọ̀túnla wọ́n sọ pé ọ̀dọ̀ Rẹ̀mí Àlùkò ló wà. So he's not really so stable at that time when he was young. So even to record him then, Isheni. But if we are able to get him to, do 1 or 2 things in the studio, the modification láti modify nǹkan tó kọ yẹn gan a máa ṣe because àtúntún rí pé kó tún wá tún nǹkan yẹn ṣe iṣẹ́ ńlá ni.
So báwo lẹ ṣe manage the image, because ẹ sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan pé rí kúrú náà, báwo lẹ ṣe clean it up?
Because he was still so small then, and then he really did not have proper care. We have to take care of him medically. In fact, we went further to ensuring that he goes to school and enrolled him in tender care in nursery and primary school. We did a lot just to try to, bring him up, both physically and psychologically, for us to be able to harness that talent, that original, talent that he had in him then. But as you know, what the industry looks like. Once you take a budding artist, nígbà yẹn tá a bá mú eléré láti ilẹ̀ tó bá ti ń dàbí owó ti fẹ́ máa jọra wọn, ogun dé o, ogun máa dé o. Ogun máa dé lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀.
After how many albums?
First album Shanko ní wàhálà ti dé.
Àtàndá ti dé Shanko Rashi.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni nígbà táwọn èèyàn ti ń gbọ́ àtàndá ti dé yẹn, ogun ti tẹ̀lé, because ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn ò rí tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀, àwọn kan rí but wọn ò ready àti gbówó lẹ̀. You understand? Àwọn tó ready àti gbówó lẹ̀ wọn ò ready àti invest nínú ẹ̀. So a whole lot of controversies yẹn wà. So àwa tó jẹ́ pé kò ń ṣòwò yẹn là ń lé, just the interest first. Tí a dẹ̀ lé interest yẹn, tá a dẹ̀ ṣe wo àwọn tó yẹ ká ṣe, tá a rojú owó, tá a package àtàṣọ àti bàtà àti igbá tá a bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe gbogbo yẹn, tá a gbé lọ sí photography studio tó wà òkè. Ẹ ṣe ń tá a fẹ́ until tá a bá get nǹkan tá a fẹ́, tá a bá ti get nǹkan tá a fẹ́ a máa padà tún ṣe. So gbogbo kìíní yẹn, a lot of people are not ready, they don't have the patience for it. All they want to do is invest and get their money and go. So we were not thinking about that. In time row ní pé ká ṣe, can make a success of it. Taba make a success of it, we'll make a success of the band. Taba make a success of the band, we'll make a success of the management. Taba make success of the management, definitely the return of all investment.
Share create band for Shanko.
Oh yes, because then it's important in pé show ti ń jáde, amania band leader te ko ma o, bá wa àwọn boys o, tó máa lọ back ẹ o, band leader eléyìí o, jẹ́ ká àwọn boys ẹ bá wa back ẹ o. So we started like that. But it was still pretty young, like I said. and then the stability for him is a little bit shaky. Then infiltration tún wá pọ̀.
Infiltration.
Yes, it's a common thing. Any marketer or any promoter to worry you, they will tell you that once you make a success of an artist, àwọn tí ó mọ ìdí ẹ̀ gan, tó mọ bó ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ gan, everybody máa gbọ́n sí. Tó bá dẹ̀ ti ń gbọ́n sí, wọ́n máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí máa kùn sí. Wọ́n máa kùn sí artist yẹn létí lọ́tùn lósì. Wọ́n ti cheat ẹ̀, wọ́n ti gbá ẹ gan. You are a star. Ó rí pé star ni ẹ látinú oyún ìyá ẹ. So before you know what is happening, artist yẹn náà máa wà ní even ọ̀gbẹ́ni báyìí 30 million off fún last week. Ó rí pé ó gọra ẹ̀ ṣá. So bẹ́ẹ̀ni yẹn gan bí òun tẹ́lẹ̀ láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ronú bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n ti fún ní platform àti foundation tó máa fi ronú bẹ́ẹ̀ òun náà lọ máa rò pé bá ti di mana yẹn lè gba 30 million last week bí ó tiẹ̀ ju 1 million lọ ṣé kò yẹ kán jù sóhun náà whereas in the real sense at that point in time irú artist bẹ́ẹ̀ ó lè jẹ́ pé gbèsè ló jẹ sílẹ̀ pẹ̀lú gbogbo nǹkan tó ti ń ṣe bọ̀ láti ilẹ̀ yẹn kò tí ń pé wà á rí rìtọ́ọ̀nù ẹ̀ àwọn tó máa rí èrún ló ṣì ń rí ò tí ì rí rìtọ́ọ̀nù ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
ṣé ẹ ń gba court nínú show tí Shanko bá gbà.
Oh yes, agreement lè sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ bọ́ nítorí pé artist gan ò tí ì mọ́wọ́ dẹnu débi tó pé fẹ́ sọ pé ó lọ ṣeré fún ìyá ṣàdíà ìyá ṣàdíà wá fún ní ṣéǹjì kan ó wá ní ṣéǹjì yẹn náà ó yá 30% ṣéǹjì yẹn dà kò ní meaning. The only way you can make money from artists is if you are able to mold the artist to stardom of international repute. By such doing, tí wọ́n bá mú show kan tó make sense wá tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ wíyá $30,000 wọ́n máa sọ pé okay o agreement ẹ sọ báyìí but at that stage it is nothing. It's nothing absolutely to write home about. The sustainer. Look, I am telling you as a matter of fact that instrumentalist Wasiu Alabi Wasiu Ayinde at a time tí ó make complain nípa Kwam One mo gbọ́ complain yẹn mo kàn mí rí ni pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn ò mọ̀ pé léré ti jẹ gbèsè gbogbo ìgbà tí àwọn èèyàn bá ń gbọ́ ohun eléré tí wọ́n ń gbórúkọ ẹ̀ eléré yẹn ó ti di billionaire láì mọ̀ pé orí gbèsè.com ló ṣì wà. So recently nígbà tí Wasiu Ayinde sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn pé nígbà tó ń talé tó ń yáwó mọ̀ owó nìkan lẹ́yìn wà concerned about so bó ṣe rí pẹ̀lú ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ promoter nìyẹn and today that's the reason why you see the fact that it's difficult. It's more or less like marketers and promoters are going into extinction in Nigeria.
In fact ṣe kò sí record labels mọ́ náà bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe for àwọn tó ń ṣe hip hop.
Record labels wà.
Maybe yeah but genre tó ń ṣe yàtọ̀ kò ń ṣe.
Marketer wà.
Kò ń ṣe.
Promoter wà. But they are virtually going into extinction. The reason is simply because now we are talking about social media. We are talking about technological improvement. You understand? So people are not actually holding on to mo ra CD,
but
download anything.
Àwọn Sony, EMI àti àwọn foreign labels láti gbà yẹn wọ́n ṣì ń sign on artists but our homemade record labels tiwa bí African songs àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ.
Gbogbo àwọn Premier Music, Sony Music, International tó ń sọ yìí they can easily walk into the bank and demand for 1 billion. And they will have a rejuvenation and overhauling of their system. The government can put money into their system and actually change that system. The government will not close their eyes to their development because the government actively wants the development of the entertainment industry. It is not the same thing. We are in what you regard, what is coinage as the third world countries. The development here is not the same thing as the development there. We are in a different,
Fine.
No.
Oh yeah,
totally. Let the Babalaji of blessed memory. Let him walk into the bank. Babalaji is of blessed memory now. But the company, let them walk into the bank now and say that, hey Joe, we are, we've done this, we've done that. Please, can you please give us 1 billion to resuscitate a lot of things that has to do with this, entertainment? No bank will support you.
In fact, kí bàbá Alájẹ tó kú gan náà sọ ní àṣà 2014 wọn làwọn ò fi bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe wọ́n ní business ẹ̀ ti bàjẹ́.
Nítorí pé àwa tá a rí adúpẹ́ fọlọ́run ni ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ti lọ ìgbésẹ̀ ti pa so many people. Kí artist tó wálẹ̀ kó tó di pé ògbà artist yẹn mọ́ promoter ẹ̀ ti wọlẹ̀ wọ́n ti gbèsè tipẹ́.
Kí artist tó wálẹ̀
kó tó di pé ògbọ́ mọ́ promoter ẹ̀ ti wọlẹ̀ ó ti lọ.
Because promoter bá ṣe mi artist ò ní wálẹ̀.
Nítorí pé òun tọ́jú artist yẹn ó ń breed artist yẹn ó ń market artist yẹn ó ń package artist yẹn ó ń promote artist yẹn so that owó tóun náà ti ná lè máa jáde wọ́n máa jáde díẹ̀díẹ̀ in trickles ni.
But artists mi ìrìbìtì artists were grateful sí promoter àbí marketer.
Nítorí pé sórí
ìjà níṣà.
Listen, the reason I will tell you and I challenge anybody any day man sọ a lot of people come to me and ask me questions pé báwo ló ṣe rí I will tell you the nitty-gritty of it because in tó ń jáde inú sales okay now a lot of artists are doing the sales themselves now putting it on internet, right? What are they getting from it? What are you going to get if you invest 50 million on your project? Artist yẹn tó bá invest 50 million surely the 1 million as a return. Any of those gospel artists kan jáde kan wá sọ fún mi. Those that are making it now within the context of the genres of the hip hop that is successful to the international market. Those within the context of gospel that is successful to the international market. You see, you have to think international now to be able to rake in the dollars before you can be able to make anything, no. While King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal was so popular, was a grounded Fuji artist, people thought he was a billionaire, but he was still struggling to become who he is today. And he said it himself. While tí àwọn eléré kan tó wà lẹ́yìn sọ pé òun ni Wasiu Ayinde ó ti jẹ́ báyìí, he was still struggling. Ẹni tó wọ bàtà ló mọ ibi tó ti ń tà òun lẹ́sẹ̀. But because ojú àwọn yẹn ò tó ìgbà tí aláyé lọ sẹ́yìn tó lọ ṣe báyìí pé báwo la ṣe fẹ́ lu àmọye ṣóò tí ẹ pé kọ́ bọ̀ wọn gbà àwọn boys àdẹ̀ gbowó because eléyìí ọgọ́ta ni o ó aláàrú gbọ́dọ̀ complete you see so ìgbà táláyé náà wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí máa jẹun nísìnyí èèyàn kan wá sọ pé òun fẹ́ dì lọ́wọ́ mu ṣó possible ṣá bó ṣe rí pẹ̀lú marketer àti artist yẹn tí ó bá ti ń di pé artist yẹn ti dé maturity àwọn tó ready àti kùn sí artist yẹn létí wọ́n máa dúró tì í
lára àwọn marketers bíi tí
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni iṣẹ́ tá a dẹ̀ wí yìí dẹ̀ rèé iṣẹ́ yìí náà dẹ̀ rèé inú ayé yìí ni tá a bá sọ pé iṣẹ́ yìí inú ayé yìí ẹni tó bá gbọ́n ó yẹ kó yé.
Rasheed Atunde Adekunle, the youngest Fuji Wizkid. Side B, tribute ti ta ni ná.
You can if you see.
Mo fẹ́ try láti rántí the other side yẹn.
General orin General Adekunle.
Okay.
Orin General Adekunle yẹn ṣé General Adekunle ni I'll think about it, no orin General Adekunle Tekoma la lò fún Àwòdì ń fò ó lóun fẹ́ Àwòdì no there was a tribute for somebody there behind it.
Kò ṣe Gbénga Adébóyè.
No ṣé Gbénga Adébóyè ni no.
Because mo rántí pé ó dárúkọ ó appreciate
Gbénga Adébóyè wà láyé ń time
nígbà yẹn
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
So kò ṣe 2004 2003 ni Gbénga Adébóyè kú. April was it April? I will fact check that. I will fact check that. Me tiẹ̀ mẹ́ta ló ó dà ń pé I will fact check. Yes, I will check. Báwo lẹ ṣe bí ìta fẹ́ jọ?
Another story nìyẹn. Mudashiru Ajani. That's the real name. Mudashiru Ajani.
Ìta fẹ́ jọ àmàmà.
Mudashiru Ajani. Well, àwọn artist manager kan náà wá bá mi pé àwọn náàbúrò kan ó dẹ̀ ń kọrin dáadáa mo ní ẹ tún dé nígbà tó bá yá nísìnyí ẹ tó sọ pé wọn ò ṣe dáadáa nígbà tó bá yá nísìnyí ẹ sọ pé bákan ẹ wo I'm not interested wọ́n ní kíníkan they were so much on me and brought him but as a matter of fact the first thing I discovered about him was his humility and he told me so much what he does o máa ń ṣe bàtà nǹkan tí ẹ̀kọ́ lọ ṣe sample bàtà kan wá fún yín náà you understand so I said wow that's good and he was so humble to the extent that within a short time he moved into my house and he was staying with me early in the morning pápápá ó ti lọ sí di mọ́tò ó ti ń fọ mọ́tò bó ṣe ń fọ mọ́tò yẹn ló máa kọ orin bó yìí style tó dẹ̀ ń kọ yìí ó dẹ̀ jọ style Saheed Òṣùpá o so that is how I actually got to know him before I actually gave him a chance so while he was staying with me tí bá ń lọ sí studio ó ń tẹ̀lé mi kí tó jí ó ti fọ mọ́tò àti ready àti jáde tí bá ń travel lọ kúrò lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ mo ń lọ lọrin mo fẹ́ lọ promote ó ń tẹ̀lé mi tí bá ń lọ sí Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ àjọ ń lọ ni
gbogbo time tẹ gbé Shanko lọ́wọ́ yẹn
gbogbo ẹ̀ ó ń tẹ̀lé mi bẹ́ẹ̀ ni so more or less at a stage he was actually now monitoring Shanko ó tún ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ má rìn síbí má lọ báyìí má ṣe gbá má ṣàwo so that is how gradually we were grooming him too Safejo to get prepared to be able to do something so he had his opportunity when we had the mindset to do Godfather that is Pasuma and Tekuma acknowledging Wasiu Alabi Pasuma then as the godfather of Fuji artists, of Fuji music in Nigeria. But something along the line, there was a conflict with we trying to use Safejo with somebody else to complement his own coming during the time of collaboration that didn't work, which we now use this as an opportunity to also feature him in Godfather. And that actually heralded him there.
So Godfather came out before Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer was not Safejo's first album.
Emba Gungo.
That's Safejo's first album.
Okay.
But we featured him in The Godfather. Okay. Yes. So we had Pasuma as the Godfather. We have Wale Tekuma as the Capone, the Tutti. Likened to the Italian ideology then of mafia. And then we had Safejo Ama as Mr. Finisher. So, that heralded him into the system before before he developed. You see, we were only trying to develop him, so that he can actually develop that confidence to be able to sing at that stage. Okay. Because as far as, we are concerned, he's still far from the stage where he can single-handedly get into the studio to do a thing of his own. So while we're preparing him for all that too, some of the promotional shows we do, also the stage, so that is how it started. Before we now did his first album, I carry Komo Safejo. That's it, and that's the title, Embargo. And you can see the controversy that went along with that. Because the controversy was much. A lot of people were saying, okay, that controversy creates the platform for marketability.
But eventually, ìjà wáyé láàrin Safejo àti KSO, Saheed Òṣùpá. Ṣẹ́yìn lẹ pitch Safejo against Saheed Òṣùpá.
Saheed Òṣùpá ọ̀rẹ́ mi ni Saheed Òṣùpá.
Ṣẹ́yìn lẹ pitch.
I cannot pitch Safejo.
Marketer ni
I cannot pick Safejo against Saheed Òṣùpá.
Business na invest
now. No. You say, look, àwọn èèyàn ló máa ń sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn. Àwa máa create a platform ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn. Àwọn èèyàn ló máa ń sọ. The industry is not particularly in pé you want to create animosity láàrin èèyàn méjì mẹ́ta.
But ẹ fún wọn ní leeway pé ẹ dẹ̀ lè sọ nǹkan báyìí o.
Rárá. We only create a platform. Àwọn kan máa sọ pé báyìí ni. Àwọn anìkan ní kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Àwọn kan á ní báyìí ni. Àwọn kan á ní kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀. You understand?
Ẹ̀yin á dẹ̀ keep more. Ẹ máa tajà sí yín lọ.
No, we were not talking. Ní sọ fún wọn pé rárá o tẹ̀ ń sọ yẹn kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ rárá. But within the artist, There's nothing like that. You understand? There's absolutely nothing like that.
But eventually wọn ò kú láàrin ara wọn náà.
Wọn ò kú. No, kò sí nǹkan tó jọ Sáfẹ́jọ́ àti Tani. Igi mú jìnnà sórí náà láti bo síbo.
Ṣé wọn ṣe live láti Sáfẹ́jọ́ ò ṣe live láti kọrin bú Saheed Òṣùpá?
Well, you see, along the line, it could be possible. That is not, wait, you see, Bemi ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí nísìnyí. I don't have such facts. You understand? I don't have such facts. In as much that I do not have such facts, it means I can't be an instigator to such, attitudinal disposition of the artist. Because he got to a stage that he himself feels the sense of independence. And the people around him, artist batting lórúkọ, ó máa ń ní plenty advisors. He will have negative advisors. He will have near less negative advisors. He will have near more negative advisors. He will have few positive advisors. So at the stage, you could see the artist as someone that has independent rights. That such independent rights might even involve the fact that his right of offer and acceptance and intention to enter into legal relationship within the context of his agreement will even be breached and eroded. So, at that stage, if you don't want to continue to fight, you let the artist be. You let the artist actually...
So you let him be after 2 albums, have you?
No.
How many albums?
Sáfẹ́jọ́ did the first album. There was the second album. I think there was a third album.
Embargo,
Sledgehammer, and then Fatal Encounter.
Okay.
When he had the accident in Ekitikopa.
Okay.
So.
But kí lẹ just sign?
You see, the preamble to contractual agreement between the company and the artist then was in most cases for a long-term relationship because the artist is virtually unknown. And you should know that before you can announce such artists to become known, like I was telling you about Tekoma's album, the first album, anything can happen. The second album, Abami Omo To Nje Dollar. The third album, you can see the massive investment without anything to show for it, right? If it cumulates to that, you should have an appropriate permutation pé tí irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn bá ṣẹlẹ̀ tí ẹni yẹn ò tí ì rí owó. Are you going to tell me that a 3-year contractual agreement is feasible?
No.
Artist yẹn ó ti invest heavily, ó ti náwó sí packaging, ó ti náwó sí publicity, ó ti ra radio program tó ń sanwó heavily, ó ń sanwó radio program quarterly, ó ń sanwó 13 weeks, ó ń sanwó presenter, ó ń sanwó àwọn mobile lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ lọ́sùn lọ́sì.
Òun ni Abioro ṣe sọ fún KSA wípé kí first 5 years tí wọ́n sign kó tó parí pé Alaye wá sign another 5 years because wọ́n ti recoup investment.
Wọ́n ti lè recoup investment wọn, and you should understand that tí a bá sọ pé èèyàn ti recoup investment ẹ̀, it goes further. Láyé ìgbà àwọn Abioro yẹn ó tún ṣì better. Wàláì tó bá mú cassette lọ sí radio station kan nísìn gbogbo Nàìjíríà lè fẹ́ gbọ́ nǹkan tẹ́ ń sọ. Do you get me?
Radio stations ó pọ̀.
Nígbà yẹn tó bá mú lọ sí radio Nàìjíríà gan everybody ti ń gbọ́ ẹ. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then there's nothing like social media. So wàá gbọ́ rédíò ṣá.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Wàá wo tẹlifíṣọ̀n ṣá. But nísìn even ní táìmù àwọn tá à ń wí wàá máa rìn o kó tó dógbòmọ̀ṣọ́ kó tó dé lọrin kó tó dé Abẹ́òkúta kó tó dóṣogbo kó tó dákúrẹ́ kó tó dé Adó lọ́hùn lọ́dọ̀ ìyá wa lọ́hùn Remdel wàhálà ìyá pọ̀ wàá rìn àtòrà wọn lẹ́ni ó tiẹ̀ ti wá di ìtìṣù àtàyànyàn wàhálà tó bá ṣe ń lọ sí radio station 500 ó tí ì bẹ̀rẹ̀ nísìn ó tiẹ̀ tí never start rárá ó sì ń ṣeré ni yẹn pé àwọn èèyàn dẹ̀ máa gbọ́ ẹ̀yẹn dey play wọ́n máa gbọ́ ẹ̀yẹn irọ́ ni gbọ́ nǹkan kan àwọn èèyàn gbọ́ nǹkan kan mọ́ báyìí tá à ń wí nísìnyí nìyẹn wọ́n ti gé tí àwọn lọ wọn gbọ́ nǹkan kan mọ́. So for you to do anything now to ma draw attention àwọn èèyàn, it will be spectacular, and sustenance nǹkan yẹn will be for a longer time before you can make or recoup an adequate investment. Reason to obliterate the responsibility of promoters and marketers.
Point where let's sign Waliji.
Well,
and báwo lẹ ṣe ẹ ti gbé gbogbo àwọn artist ẹ ti ń gbé látẹ̀ẹ̀kan láti mention.
If you talk about Waliji,
unknown artists ni wọ́n.
Even including Waliji.
Waliji, so
Waliji is àbúrò Ṣẹ́gun Ògúngbè of the Ògúngbè family in Abẹ́òkúta. And there's another story to that, and that is the fact that we had problem with Shanko, like I told you. The success of Shanko created a lot of animosity. It created a lot of problems to the extent that bí marketer ilé iṣẹ́ ń lè claim sí púpọ̀ nǹkan lòún discover ẹ̀ pé òun ti mọ̀ ń bàdàn pàrọ̀ àbànà lòún ni marketer yìí sọ pé òun relate mọ́ àwọn òbí ẹ̀. Did you see that? Kí la wá fẹ́ ṣe báyìí? Eléyìí ọmọ Ìbàdàn ni ó ní ọmọ Ìbàdàn kan náà lòun àti Rashidi Ọ̀jẹ̀táyọ̀ tá à ń pè ní Shanko. Eléyìí sọ pé bí làwọn jẹ́ pé mi ò ní right sí pé ṣùgbọ́n kí ni right mi láti interfere sínú family affair wọn. Mo ní but àwa la ní contract ó láwọn òbí ẹ̀ ò mọ̀wé pé why tí mo ṣe máa ní kan sign contract àwọn òbí ẹ̀ ò mọ̀wé àwọn ti gbówó lọ báwọn òbí ẹ̀. So the controversy was much. At the end of the day, the matter became a messy affair that was drifting into litigation. Nígbà yẹn tó involve pé àwọn òyìnbó tó máa ń bá wa print cassette CD ngbà yẹn iléeṣẹ́ alphabet ní láti gbé ìwé dìde pé a fẹ́ join yín o nínú breach of the contractual agreement pẹ̀lú àwọn ẹni. Àwọn òyìnbó bá ní ó dáa tó bá rí bẹ́ẹ̀ o ìkànnì àwọn director wa èèyàn yín ni ará Ìbàdàn ni ìyẹn Babalájí of blessed memory wọ́n bá pè wọ́n pé bàbá wàhálà dé o èèyàn kọ́ lọ rìkọ́ọ̀dù artist ẹni báyìí ó ti gbé rìkọ́ọ̀dù yẹn wá fáwọn àwọn dẹ̀ ti print bíi 20,000 copies bàbá bá sáré wá sẹ́kọ̀ọ́ director lòun jẹ́ ẹni yìí bí ọmọ ló jẹ́ sóhun èmi mo kéré jù nínú àwọn marketer ń gbà yẹn wọ́n bá pè mí bàbá bá pè mí sí meeting pé àwọn ò lè bá mi sọ̀rọ̀ tí o wọ́n bá pa àwọn òyìnbó bá jókòó gbogbo wọn bá jókòó Babalájí náà bá jókòó ń pé àwọn ò ní bá mi sọ̀rọ̀ tì ń pé ẹni tó já ọmọ ìgbà ó ti print 20,000 sálẹ̀ pé kí ni ká ṣe sí. Mo ní bàbá ń tà lè ṣe sí ní pé ọmọ ìwà under contract ẹ jẹ́ kí ilé ẹjọ́ dá ẹjọ́ yìí àwa ń lọ ilé ẹjọ́ àbá ní rárá mi ò ní lọ páàṣẹ làwọn máa pa fún mi pé ní tí bá fẹ́ gbà ní kì í sọ lọ́jọ́ yìí a dẹ̀ sọ lọ sọ́bọ̀ ẹni tó jagbà náà wà ń bẹ̀ ọjọ́ yẹn gangan náà fẹ́ release ẹ̀ àwọn èrò ti kún ta àwọn tí ó jọ̀rẹ́ ti wá tó jọ̀rẹ́ tèmi gangan tó ti ń bá mi ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ nítorí iṣẹ́ yẹn wọ́n ti mú mi lọ́tà lẹ́ni tó bá máa ṣẹlẹ̀ ló máa ṣẹlẹ̀ o ẹni tó máa kú ló máa kú o ẹni tó bá máa kú ló máa kú o bí wọ́n ṣe máa ń sọ ní industry yẹn yìí náà àwọn tó jọ̀rẹ́ ti wá náà ló ń ṣe báyìí nítorí ọjà ọlọ́jà no problem bẹ́ẹ̀ bá a ṣe mọ́ déédéé ni àwọn tó dẹ̀ tó jọ̀rẹ́ ti wá náà tún sọ pé báwo ló ṣe fẹ́ lọ̀rọ̀ ṣe wá rí báyìí industry yìí kan kò dá báyìí ẹni sùúrù o a lọ sí meeting yẹn a fa ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn lọ fà á bọ̀ Ọlọ́run gba ẹnu bàbá yẹn kọ́lọ̀ ń dẹ́rẹ́ rí fún wọn o bàbá dáadáa ni wọ́n tán padà di Olúbàdàn of Ìbàdàn ẹ jẹ́ ń fún yín ní àìdíà kan ṣe rí promoter tó bá dáa tí eléré tí ó náwó lé lórí bá ń lọ sókè tí ò dalẹ̀ promoter náà máa lọ sókè eléré á máa lọ sókè promoter náà máa lọ sókè abẹ́rẹ́ nǹkan báyìí wọ́n jọ fara wọn gòkè ní bàbá padà di Olúbàdàn of Ìbàdàn. King Wasiu Ayinde náà ẹ rí i pé téńté náà wà lókè tí ò sẹ́ni tó lè bá wọn dù nítorí pé àwọn náà ṣe déédéé pẹ̀lú bàbá yẹn ṣe déédéé pẹ̀lú wọn àwọn náà ṣe déédéé pẹ̀lú bàbá yẹn. Odò orísun Wasiu Ayinde kò ní lè gbẹ àbí nítorí pé òun gan ò gbàgbé nígbà yẹn lọ́hùn King Wasiu Ayinde Mayegun wọn gbàgbé odò tí wọ́n ti sun wá wọ́n dúró ti bàbá yẹn wọ́n jọ gòkè ta ló wá fẹ́ já wọn bọ́ báyìí ìwé kó o máa difficult gan tá a bá sọ pé King Wasiu Ayinde jáde ńgbà yẹn tá a bá sọ pé wọ́n jáde fún anything nígbà yẹn anybody mọ̀ pé babalájẹ ni wọn kì í dùn ní àbẹ́rẹ́ rí nǹkan even àwọn tó pẹ̀lú tí mo mọ̀ tó jọ̀rẹ́ tèmi tó pẹ̀lú tí wọ́n join ní band wọn gbà yẹn someone like Díyà Òjó òkè gan làwọn náà wà nísìnyí ní London you see so that is how we do things and that is how an artist can sustain that profile. Wasiu Alabi Pasuma nǹkan Wasiu Alabi Pasuma nǹkan àtẹrù ọwá Sàrùmí wọ́n jọ lẹ̀pọ̀ dókè ní ìkankan nù wọn ò ní lè wálẹ̀ are difficult you see that relationship ó máa ń wà cordial tí promoter yẹn ò bá dalẹ̀ artist yẹn artist yẹn náà ò bá dalẹ̀ promoter yẹn you see there are situations of frictions there's no doubt about that but situation of frictions yẹn ó ṣe lọ́wọ́ foundation yẹn báwo ló ṣe rí you see so that was the reason then but I'll tell you as a matter of fact that today ṣebí mi rè right some of those artists some of them are where they are some of them are still struggling some of them have they decided to even abdicate on the responsibilities of their entertainment. Did you see that? You see so táwọn àgbàlagbà bá pa òwe yẹn ń gbà yẹn pé ní mojú ògùn.
mo pa bìnírè. so báwo ni babalájí ṣe yanjú ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn.
ihun tí wọ́n fi yanjú ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ni pé kí gbanti fẹ́ gbà lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó infringe lórí right wa èmi náà dẹ̀ state conditions mi pé ẹ̀sán yé báyìí ṣẹ́rí kásẹ̀tẹ̀ kó sálẹ̀ yẹn nígbà tá a ti mediate tá a dẹ̀ ti decide pé èmi mo ní right ọmọ kásẹ̀tẹ̀ kó sálẹ̀ yẹn kọ́kọ́ kó fún mi náà
20,000 copies.
10,000 copies.
Okay.
La agree lé lórí dẹ̀ fún mi ní iye báyìí lẹ́yìn ìyẹn tí ó bá ti di after ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì nìkan wá release yìí tó kù fún wọn káwọn lọ bá àwa reach agreement àtọwọ́bọ̀wé assign ẹ̀ àdẹ execute ẹ̀. so nígbà tí máa dé sálẹ̀ gbogbo àwọn tó ti kọ́kọ́ bá mi jà tó ti ṣe tó mọ̀ àwọn tó jẹ́ tèmi wọ́n rọ́jà kó lọ.
that same ọjà.
ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àwọn tí ò ń ṣe tèmi wọ́n káwọ́ lórí pé báwo ló ṣe ṣẹlẹ̀ báyìí nígbà táwa dẹ̀ máa kọjá débi tá a ti ń tajà lóṣòdì àkọ́kọ́ fún ọjà yẹn náà bó ṣe wù wá bá a ṣe wá fún ọjà yẹn in tó bí wàlìjímù àtìlẹ́rí yẹn bá a ṣe fún ọjà yẹn àṣàyè lọ sábẹ́òkúta true ọ̀rẹ́ mi kan tá à ń pè ní tántálá tá a bá ń padà pè ní tántálá lórí ọ̀kadà ẹjọ́ à ń wọ ọmọ kékeré kan tá a lè mold.
ẹ fẹ́ sáré wà ní kíákíá.
láàrin ọjọ́ méjì bá wà lábẹ́òkúta là ń wá kiri pé ayẹ kalẹ̀ ní tántálá bá sọ fún wa pé ẹ má ṣe wàhálà àbúrò kan wà ní àwọn ọmọ bàbá Ògúngbè ẹ jẹ́ à lọ wà bóyá tó bá fìtì nǹkan tẹ́ fẹ́ nígbà tá a débẹ̀ ọmọ yìí tún kéré ju Shanko lọ o.
ní real age tẹ̀
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó kéré a bá sọ ń gbà yẹn pé àwa tí a bá mold ẹ láti ṣe nǹkan báyìí ṣó lè ṣe ó lóun àṣe ó dà.
secondary school ló wà nígbà yẹn.
ṣé secondary school ló wà ṣá mi ò sure ó kéré ju Shanko lọ so ọba mu àlọ́bá àwọn bàbá Ògúngbè of blessed memory ń sìn a bá lọ sí ilé wọn lábẹ́òkúta àwọn rẹ́dí àti tẹ̀lé wa káwọn wá lọ mọ ilé tó máa gbé lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ wọ́n dẹ̀ tẹ̀lé wa wá.
bàbá gangan.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni yunifásitì room wa gan-an sùn nígbà tó yá even Ṣẹ́gun máa ń wá gbogbo ògbà dáadáa sílé wa lọ́jọ́ta so bó dẹ̀ ṣe délé gbàgà báyìí ó yá ó jókòó sórí dining abẹ̀ sí máa create idea kí ni ká pè o ẹ jẹ́ n ṣàṣírí kan fún yín lẹ́nu. Olúayé king of Fuji music Wasiu Ayinde Marshal wọ́n máa ń kọrin kan gbà yẹn tí bá tẹ̀lé Díyà Òjó lọ ń gbà yẹn màá lọ wo nǹkan tí wọ́n ń ṣe màá kàn jókòó màá wò nílà pàríà sí gbogbo tó tọ́ máa lọ watch mo kéré gan so wọ́n máa ń sábà kí fans wọn kan tí Alhaji máa ń kì ní Waliji Muati ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn orúkọ yẹn ló wá sí mi lórí orúkọ ọmọ tá a lọ gbé lábẹ́òkúta yìí Wálé Ògúngbè lórúkọ ẹ̀ ni mo á fún ní Waliji Muati àwa pè ní Konkolo Waliji Muati.
Konkolo yẹn pé òun náà ó kéré
ó tún kéré ju Shanko lọ kóhun tiẹ̀ tún Konkolo la fi pè ní Waliji Muati la wá lọ ṣe first intro àti ìṣàbọ̀ mẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ pé aṣẹ̀fọ́n ọjà tá a gbà lórí mediation tá a ṣe aṣẹ̀fọ́n síta ni.
but orúkọ ta ní ọjà tẹ́ ẹ gbà yẹn orúkọ ta ló wà ń bẹ̀.
orúkọ the other promoter ta forúkọ bò láṣìírí ló wà ń bẹ̀.
bẹ́yìn ṣe gbà ẹ̀yin lè máa gba owó
ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ àwa la gba owó ẹ̀ àwa la fọn jáde ara mediation àti nǹkan tá a settle lé lórí.
ṣé ẹ ti ṣe long gbogbo time yìí ni because gbogbo àwọn
ó ti wà lára ni.
ẹ ti mọ̀ pé ẹ máa ṣe.
ó dandan ni tí n bá ṣe ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ni ó ti wà lára kódà before then mo ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ evening law tí mo stop nítorí gbà yẹn àwa sáré kiri ká má lè jókòó sójú kan náà ò gbà wá láàyè ní studio ọ̀la máa súnú mọ́tò àǹkó so ó ti wà lára but bí a ṣe fọ́n síta yẹn ta sáré lọ mú ọmọ yẹn ta gbedele kí ni ká kọ mo sáré create idea mo dẹ̀ láwọn hip hop kan tó wà nílé mi náà ń gbà yẹn táwọn náà fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ àwọn náà ń fi idea sí ọ̀nà what's up kí ni kò ní what's up ó lẹ̀ ń sọ yìí mo kàn create idea yẹn ni my name Konkolo. My name is Waliji Konkolo, African little baba Konkolo, ọbẹ̀ lọmọ èyí tó ń kọ Fuji kò. Bá ṣe create idea yẹn tán ní alẹ́ ọjọ́ yẹn ọjọ́ kejì mo wọ studio. Èmi àti Kúnlé Agboola of blessed memory. Àkọ́wọ́ studio ni, mo kọ sequence ẹ̀ ni. Mo ṣe sequence ẹ̀dí bíkan mọ́ àwọn boys òun rap yẹn mo ní ẹ fi rap sí wọ́n fi rap sí ó tún wọlé àpòkọ láàrin 3 days ó ti ready àti lò bíi 4-5 days lẹ́yìn tá a ju Shanko síta a ní 1 more week táwọn ará bí yìí máa fi kó tiwọn jáde táwọn òyìnbó máa fi ilé sọjà fún wọn mo kàn ju Konkolo sórí rédíò ni.
Àgbàlẹ̀tù rédíò vision ó jalè jákó Àgbàlẹ̀tù rédíò vision ó lẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ ó Àgbàlẹ̀tù rédíò vision ó stand out Àgbàlẹ̀tù rédíò vision gbogbo ayé ló ń gbọ́ Ìbàdàn làwọn tá ti ń gbọ́ sáfẹ́fẹ́ Àgbàlẹ̀tù rédíò vision ó jalè jákó Àgbàlẹ̀tù rédíò vision ó lẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ ó rédíò táyé ń gbọ́ ó stand out Àgbàlẹ̀tù rédíò vision gbogbo ayé ló ń gbọ́ Ìbàdàn làwọn tá ti ń gbọ́ sáfẹ́fẹ́ o.
Nígbà tí Shanko tán tí wọn ò rí mọ́ àwọn èèyàn bá sọ pé kò tiẹ̀ gbádùn gan wo ìgbà tá a ríra kí n kókó ìkan náà tún ti ń polówó yìí o.
wọ́n ti ra 10,000 copies yẹn lọ.
ó ti tán ṣebí marketability tèmi ni.
ẹ̀dẹ̀ tí jọ sọ̀rọ̀ pé wọn gbọ́dọ̀ release until.
agreement ni agreement and market gimmick tẹ̀ tún ni so akọ̀jú Konkolo.
àwọn ò dẹ̀ mọ̀ nǹkan tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe.
àwọn ò mọ̀ akọ̀jú Konkolo yẹn wàá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pariwo 3 days tá a máa parí ẹ̀ wọ́n ti lọ ń béèrè pé ọmọ kan tún wà tó ti jáde àwọn nǹkan tó dẹ̀ fẹ́ kọ náà àwa tún ń draft ẹ̀ sílẹ̀ wáì tí advert yẹn ti ń lọ tó ti ń lọ so àwọn èèyàn ti ń béèrè market akọ̀sá ẹ̀wọ̀ studio ni ó yá kọ̀kọ́ kúkọ kò tiẹ̀ tákù ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ̀ lóun náà kìnnìkan lóun náà bá kọ oríṣiríṣi
àwọn nǹkan tẹ oríṣiríṣi tẹ kọ sí
lẹ́nu bá ṣe ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn láàrin 2-3 days àti print káwọn tó gbọjà ọjà ti kún market.
ẹ ti dá sí.
bẹ́ẹ̀ni nígbà tọ́jà táwọn máa padà dé market ó ti bọ́jà market.
Shanko ti bá Konkolo wájú.
ó ti bẹ́ẹ̀ ni so ó wá irú ọjà bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ó máa padà affect ara wọn ó wá dé stage pé rivalry yẹn wá lágbára gan àwọn èèyàn wá sọ pé even Konkolo yìí gan wà pa ẹjẹ́ bọ́ ṣe rà á lọ nìyẹn by the time tí yẹn máa padà marketer yẹn máa sọ fún yín kóun náà padà jẹ gbèsè ni. You see? So industry market rivalry ni ẹni yára
lògùn gbé
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ògùn gbé Wálé ògùn gbé lórúkọ ẹ̀.
ṣé nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ pẹ̀lú Shanko ṣé kò repeat rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú
Konkolo
Konkolo.
No the only thing pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ ní pé eventually he decided to go back to school.
Okay.
In fact, he sent a message to me recently pé ó ti parí tertiary institution there. You know, in fact recently gan ó ṣe fídíò kan tó send ẹ̀ tó ń kí mi síbẹ̀. You know, that is pé tá a fi sí lẹ́nu ń gbà yẹn ó sì wà ń bẹ̀ ó ti dàgbà nísìn. See? So gbogbo kinní yẹn was not based on rivalry, was not based on any form of animosity, was not based on any form of gangsterism, was based on marketability.
Pure business.
That's the reason tí àwọn èèyàn kan bá ń sọ nǹkan èèyàn kan ń bá èèyàn kan jà èèyàn kan ń ṣe gbá kan èèyàn kan ń ṣe àwọn tí ń bára wọn fà máa ní ẹwù ẹ má dààmú ara yín o ẹ má dààmú ara yín.
Now ẹ jẹ́ kí n wo àwọn other artists tẹ ṣiṣẹ́ fún kí n tó move lọ sí second part.
ṣé a ṣiṣẹ́ fún wọn ni ṣá.
Okay, àwọn tẹ ẹjọ́ ṣiṣẹ́ fúnra yín ni ẹbẹ sọ pé ẹjọ́ máa jọra.
It's a contractual agreement kò ń ṣe pé èèyàn kan ṣiṣẹ́ fún èèyàn kan. It's a mutual relationship.
Ọmọ ológo nǹkan.
Yes. We talked about Shanko and Walijimu àti Konkolo. Eléyìí náà fẹ́ similar. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó fẹ́ similar. Nítorí pé nígbà yẹn wàhálà ti pọ̀ lórí àìkàǹpárò. Àwọn èèyàn tó jẹ́ agbádùn mọ́. Báwọn kan ṣe ń sọ bí pé àwọn cheat ẹni làwọn kan sọ pé wọ́n ń lórí ẹni. So we need to create a rival.
Ẹ̀yin lẹni product ẹ̀yin náà lè create rival fún that same product so that a máa ṣẹ̀ǹkẹ̀. Ta ni mentor yín?
Ọlọ́run ni mentor wa.
Show me your mentor.
Ọlọ́run ni mentor wa. You see, when you learn music marketability, you must not only learn it in context of locality in ta máa ń pè tá bá study ní tertiary institution tó bá fún any specific phenomenon kankan wọ́n máa ní kó lọ study comparative understanding mo sọ nǹkan kan earlier mo ní lack of consciousness ó pẹ̀lú tó ń dààmú wa ní àríwá side ibi tá a wà yìí. Lack of consciousness àwọn èèyàn wa òun fẹ́ ṣe research àwọn èèyàn wa ò kì í dig into nǹkan dáadáa you know nígbà kan àwọn American artists kan tẹ́lẹ̀ ìbá kọ ìkejì á dá lóhùn tẹ́lẹ̀ ìbá sọ pé ajá ń rìn ìkejì á sọ pé ṣé ta ló sọ fẹ́ pé kò lè fò tẹ́lẹ̀ ìbá sọ fẹ́ pé inú kéèjì náà ń fajá sí tọ̀hún á dá lóhùn pé ajá tó fi sínú kéèjì á rò pé bí àwọn ajá ṣe ń live natural nìyẹn èyí tó fi sínú cage á wò pé àwọn yẹn láìsàn ni àbẹ́ẹ̀ rí nǹkan so bọ́ ṣe ń dára wọn lóhùn nìyẹn àṣẹrí ìdáhùn tó ń fi ń dára wọn lóhùn yẹn ó ń dára every sílẹ̀ tó yẹ pé táwọn èèyàn bá gbọ́ lè wọ́n fẹ́ lọ gbọ́tọ̀
wọ́n máa dúró dè ní.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àwọn kan á ti lọ tíìmù pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ pé tó bá fẹ́ dá lóhùn má gbàgbé ọ̀rọ̀ yìí o ó tó yẹ kó sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yìí tó o bá dá lóhùn ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ṣe pàtàkì o àwọn kan sọ fún pé sórí tó bá dá lóhùn lọ́rọ̀ yìí sórí peripheral understanding ọ̀rọ̀ tó sọ yìí padà kò fi dá lóhùn sí bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ló padà rí pẹ̀lú àwọn àgbà olórin ìgbà kan ẹ ti gbàgbé láyé ìgbà kan ni ọmọdé dé
ọmọ ẹran dà
èèyàn wọn dẹ̀ máa dá lóhùn ẹ kìlọ̀ fọ́mọdé so bó ṣe wà nìyẹn rivalry ni tá a bá wo ayé ìgbà àwọn bàbá wa náà of blessed memory Síkírù Àyìndé Barrister ti mọ̀ pé tí bàbá ti jáde kẹ́hìndé wọn náà máa jáde bàbá wa Kollington so in tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ káwọn méjèèjì wà relevant nìyẹn nígbà tí Ọlọ́run pè kan nísìn ṣé ó dàbí pé bàbá wa kejì àti wà relevant wọn ẹyẹ ò ní fapá kan fò in tó ṣẹlẹ̀ nìyẹn bàbá wa sì relevant o wọ́n dẹ̀ sì máa pẹ́ dáadáa ṣùgbọ́n kí ni rivalry yẹn friendship ni wọ́n o but wọ́n create rivalry yẹn for marketability ni it is not animosity rivalry yẹn ò ń ṣe pé dandandandan ogun àfi tí kinní kan bá ṣẹlẹ̀ no the rivalry was based on market on tajà ni kò jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ.
so kò kí n ṣe pé Adéjọkẹ́ Bánkọ́lé marketer kan wá gbé e lọ àbí ó fẹ́ gbé e lọ lẹ́sẹ̀ create ọmọ ológun.
jẹ́ n sọ kankan fún yín àwa marketer amọ̀ntà ń ṣe torí pé láyé ìgbà yẹn lọ́hùn bá a ṣe ń yọ so nítorí pé àwọn kan tó lọ plan ẹ̀ pé ẹ gbàjọ́ báyìí ló ṣe rí báyìí kásà báyìí káwòdì ara wọn náà ló tún máa gbé wá wọ́n ti fẹ́ gbà o iye báyìí náà fẹ́ fún un wọ́n ti lọ bá wọn ìyá ẹ̀ o wọ́n ti bá wọn bàbá ẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ o báyìí ló ṣe rí o. nígbà yẹn dẹ̀ rí ìwọ tó ti invest owó sórí artist tó yẹ pé ní time tó fẹ́ gbà yẹn gan ó ṣe ń ṣe nǹkan tó à ń pè ní promotion lé lórí ó ṣe ń pariwo ẹ̀ káàkiri ó ṣe ń sáré kiri ilé ní Ìlọrin ọ̀la Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ ó ṣe ń gborí òkè ló ṣe ń gbàdúrà Ọlọ́run gbà jẹ́ kó ṣe máa lọ jẹ́ kó máa lọ ẹ mọ̀ pé ẹni tó fọwọ́ fọná kò ń lè jókòó kò easy time yẹn it was not easy for anybody promoting any artist because eré àti ẹ̀ ti rówó ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ promoter ń gbà yẹn ni wọ́n lọ yáwó gan ṣe ń tán ṣe ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ó dẹ̀ máa jẹ́ ká try ẹ̀ wò ṣé mo rí 20 million yà ń bẹ̀ yẹn ẹ wá wò 20 million yẹn á sanwó tẹlifíṣàn á san 15 minutes lórí àwọn program oríṣiríṣi á dẹ̀ san 15 minutes yẹn ó lè san for 13 episode méjì.
àwọn LTV náà dẹ̀ ti create programs.
ẹ
gbọ́dọ̀ gbé artist yẹn
wá ó di dandan ni
ó wà lọ́sùn
bẹ́ẹ̀
ó wà ní
ni
OSRC
tó o bá gbé wọn ò ní rí.
because àwọn kan ti ń dòde pé iṣẹ́ wo ló fẹ́ jáde lọ́la ibi láti máa wò.
so owó dòde máa san wọn ò dẹ̀ fẹ́ gbọ́ kálọ kábọ̀ ìmí ìdẹ̀rí tó yẹ pé 13 weeks ló máa fi báyẹn lò ó ti sanwó 10 weeks sílẹ̀ kí 13 weeks yẹn tó dé báyìí wọ́n á ti máa sọ fún yín pé ìgbésẹ̀ ti wà ńlẹ̀ o ìwà máa sáré publicity promotion and co yẹn advertisement bó ṣe ń sáré gbogbo yẹn wàá máa hámà ń tà ń pè ní jingle ẹ̀dẹ̀ mọ iye tó jẹ́ wàá máa hámà ẹ̀ ní ó ti dé o ó ti jáde o kìnìkan ẹ máa rí níbi báyìí o ẹ lọ síbi báyìí ní Olúfúnmiláyọ̀ ńlọrin o kìnìkan ajímọ̀ tútù whereas gbogbo bó ṣe ń ṣe tó ń sáré kiri yẹn àwọn kan ti ń dáná sílẹ̀ bí yẹ kó polówó ẹ̀ dáadáa.
àwọn tí wọ́n fẹ́ kọ́ ọmọ ṣòwò kó máa jèrè.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti dáná lẹ̀ wọ́n máa gbà á. so ọjọ́ tó bá tí reality yẹn bá dé báyìí gbàm báyìí ní tó máa ń fà tẹ́lómi ó gbàbẹ̀ lọ nìyẹn ó di gbére wọ́n á ní one spanner loss ni kò mean pé nítorí pé ó kú yẹn ní orí òkè wa lóṣòdì ńgbà yẹn wọ́n á declare pé má tajà lé ní o ọjọ́ kejì ọjà ẹ̀ wọ́n ń tà lọ́wọ́.
ó ti lọ́n tẹ̀.
àlọ́jà ẹ̀ wọ́n ń tà lọ́wọ́ èmi mo sọ fún yín bẹ́ẹ̀ kí forúkọ bo àwọn ẹbí kan láṣìírí nítorí pé well because of our own training we cannot denigrate the dead mo lọ sí orí òkè màpò oníbàdàn mo lọ ṣe advert kan gbà yẹn lọ́hùn apàdé ató mẹ́ta ta pàdé gbà yẹn níbẹ̀ including mama Remdel náyé gbà yẹn lọ́hùn tó gbé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àná ẹ̀ tí ń jáde ató mẹ́ta ta pàdé mákẹ́tà tó ń kọ́kọ́ future lórí rédíò lọ́jọ́ yẹn bó ṣe ṣe tán báyìí arábẹ̀ mò ń lọ o mo tún ń lọ sí rédíò Lagos mò ń kánjú mọ́tò fíùm ó bá lọ ló bá kan èmi ni bá ṣe kò pẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀mi ṣe tán tí mo jáde rédíò làwọn kan dé náà bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí wọ́n fi gbé ta mo ní kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ wọ́n ní promoter tó kúrò ń bí tán nísinsìnyí wọ́n ló ti l'accident ní Ìbàdàn expressway kò pẹ́ labájá ṣara wa jọ pẹ̀lú màmá rẹ̀ ń bẹ̀rù abágbàbẹ̀ lọ àṣẹ mọ́tò yẹn ó sọ máa sọ́ọ̀ tó gbin náà ni tá a máa padà débẹ̀ báyìí wọ́n ti górí ẹ̀ lọ.
wọ́n gé orí ẹni yẹn lọ mákẹ́tà.
ó ti lọ àwọn tó kàn wọ́n kàn ṣe gbogbo ètò tó fẹ́ ṣe wọ́n dẹ̀ gbé wọ́n dẹ̀ ibi tí responsibility iṣẹ́ yìí tó le dé mákẹ́tà wa kan wà lábẹ́kúta ń gbà yẹn ó popular gan ká tó sọ anything báyìí àti lọ já ọjà fún akọ̀dé bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọjọ́ kan wọ́n ní ṣé ẹ gbọ́ ni mo náà gbọ́ wọ́n lórí kàn fọ́ ni ó dẹ̀ lọ orí kàn fọ́ náà ò fẹ́ kó lọ kí ni níbo mo tún bára mi yìí báyìí expertise làwa fi ń ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn you understand passion dexterity la fi ń ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn ìgbà mi ti bá fẹ́ construct orin lórí ìjókòó yìí wọ́n máa tẹ keyboard wọ́n máa fi create idea bí wọ́n bá rí orí fóònù mi kan wà tí mo tọ́jú pamọ́ tí mi sábà ló wà nínú báàgì mo ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ bí wọ́n bá ṣí orí fóònù yẹn wà á máa rí àwọn oríṣiríṣi orin over 1,000 tí mo ti create in the past 6, 7, 8 years mo wà ní school mo ń create orin nígbà tí máa ń kàwé lọ màá sọ nǹkan tó rhyme nǹkan tó dẹ̀ kọ́nù wé yìí the rhyme to them make sense tí mo dẹ̀ lè lò ní o you see so èèyàn tí Ọlọ́run fún ní ẹ̀bùn yẹn Bíbélì sọ ó ní ọ̀pọ̀ la pè ó ní díẹ̀ la yàn ó ní díẹ̀ yẹn gan a ṣe àwọn kan lóko ó ń ṣọ̀rọ̀ irú wá ọ̀gbẹ̀rì wá tà ń wí yìí àwọn kan ó dá wọn lójú ni ó dá ìgbà táwọn àwọn studio èmi àti ẹni tẹ́ pè ní broda
Jíbọ́lá Paso ẹ̀yin lẹ pé Paso ní broda
ẹ̀yin lẹ sọ nísìn
ẹ̀yin ó wà nù ṣe bóun nìyí broda Jíbọ́lá Paso
but you actually made reference.
nǹkan tẹ́ ẹ kọ́ ni Sister Adéjọkẹ́ Bankole featuring broda Jíbọ́lá Pasuma.
I'm not disputing the veracity of the creation we made then.
nǹkan ẹ kọ́ ni mo dẹ̀ rí fast gba ẹ kọ́ kíní yìí o.
Anyway gẹ́gẹ́ bá a ṣe ń sọ.
ẹ admit ilé àti exhibit.
Àwọn studio lọ́jọ́ yẹn tá à ń fa ìdí àjùra wọn pé tábà dẹ̀ create nǹkan báyìí a dẹ̀ lè create nǹkan báyìí o láàárín ìṣẹ́jú àáyá àti create nǹkan tá à ń wá kí dẹ̀ ni mo ti create idea keyboard rhymes. Àlàyé tó good gidi kò waste time rárá Jíbọ́lá mòdé o panorama làgàtà tó ń kọ Fuji ṣàbàdàbàdà everybody just tell me what they say you are the godfather who are these guys the Don and Mr. Finisher. Pasuma ló ń kọrin o very smart pápápá bí ẹ bá ti fún Pasuma ní tẹ bá fún ní 1 ó ti wọ 10 very smart very intelligent you know the dexterity of delivery is quite unequal within the context of his style of music. So we've been doing this and the mechanism of doing it, the passion is still there. It cannot leave us. Possible.
So anyway, kí má overflow gọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ ológo àti ọmọ ọlọ́pẹ́ kí yẹn lọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ ṣiṣẹ́ àwọn juvenile choir.
Yes.
Nìbàdàn. CAC òkè kí mo ti máa ń gbàgbé church bàbá ọlọ́wọ̀ rẹ̀ ṣáà ni.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Iṣẹ́ kan lè ṣe fún ọ.
Yes, I was called for production then.
Okay.
Just basically production. Okay. Same way bí a ṣe pè mí fún children's choir Àgbàlá Àtúrà.
Okay.
CAC Àgbàlá Àtúrà. Same way, just basically production.
Okay.
But then I also assisted them in the marketability of that project then.
Okay. So far kí ni biggest venture yín nínú àwọn albums tẹ́ ṣe èwo ló fún yín ní biggest ROI?
Oh God. Èwo la máa sọ pé ó fún mi ní biggest ROI? Well, you see, return on investment was not actually embedded in all that you are saying.
Okay.
But success was achieved. If you are talking about success, I need to wo success within what context?
Well, tẹ́ bá bí mi wọ́n sọ pé make stars.
That is success.
Yeah.
You understand?
You made stars.
That is success.
Of unknown people.
That is success. You see, when you pick an artist that is unknown, basically with the target that artist must be known. Not thinking or not having that fear. Because there are a whole lot of fear of the unknown. Because these are not the only artists involved. Okay, mo ṣiṣẹ́ artist kan. Tí wẹ́ pé normally ọ̀tọ̀ ní ta fẹ́ record in studio. Ẹ bá mi test microphone. La ní kí àwọn ẹni yìí ṣe. Ó dẹ̀ ń test microphone. Within the context of ó ń test microphone. Ọ̀gbẹ́ni nǹkan tó sọ yẹn. Kò bá mi repeat ẹ̀. Do you understand? We are testing the microphone to balance the microphone on the console. In time ṣe nìyẹn àwọn tí mo ní kó máa bá mi test microphone nínú vocal rárá backup lásán ni.
Okay.
Ó ń test microphone mo dẹ̀ wọ́n pé what? Idea tó ń ṣe yẹn má kúrò lórí ẹ̀ o ẹ̀yin tó kọ ẹ̀ kúrò ní the mic. Ìmọ̀ nǹkan tó ń ṣe yẹn máa ṣe mo fẹ́ gbọ́ bá mi develop nǹkan tó ń ṣe yẹn gangan bá mi develop ẹ̀ ó dẹ̀ ń ṣe lọ inú bó ṣe ń ṣe lọ yẹn mo dẹ̀ ń record ẹ̀ ó dẹ̀ ń ṣe lọ ó ṣe débì kan tó mo ti mú táìmù nǹkan tí mo fẹ́ but lẹ́yìn tó wá ṣe yẹn kò tún bá mi fi idea kan báyìí sí ó dẹ̀ ṣe mo dẹ̀ record ẹ̀ sílẹ̀ àwa mú kúrò bẹ̀ àwa ṣe kọ́ta wá ṣe lọ́jọ́ yẹn gangan in tóun ṣe yẹn tí mo discover yẹn òun ló à ń pè ní ìrọ̀lẹ́ ayé wáàsí yẹn ló dàbí muslim wáàsí ẹni tó ṣe là ń pè ní kòyòkòyò wáàsí yẹn ńgbà tá a róòlù ẹ̀ jáde.
the same person tó test yẹn náà ni.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o òun ládẹ gbé sí picture ẹ̀ òun náà la ṣe òun ló di wáàsí ẹ̀fẹ̀ kòyòkòyò you see and wáàsí ẹ̀fẹ̀ yẹn tí a bá gbọ́ ńgbà yẹn ó lọ táwọn èèyàn pariwo ẹ̀ tó ń ṣe tó mọ̀ àwọn kan criticize ẹ̀ àwọn kan ṣe àwọn kan tó bá sì tún dìde lórí ẹ̀ tó yẹ kó dé stage kan fẹ́ kó ọ̀bọ̀ yẹn gan ò lè kò wá find it easy láti lè rìn.
wọ́n fẹ́ pa á ni.
o ń pe báwo ló ṣe máa ṣe irú wáàsí ẹ̀fẹ̀ báyìí wáàsí ẹ̀fẹ̀ yẹn náà lọ gbà yẹn lọ so ideas pọ̀.
but tó bá yẹ pé wáàsí ẹ̀fẹ̀ tó tẹ́ni ẹ̀ ṣe ẹ ti record ẹ wá wò pé ẹ lè get someone else tó lè ṣe better.
No, it will not be because bí inspiration yẹn ṣe wá through ẹni tó gbà wá nìyẹn tí a bá lọ mú ẹlòmíì it is not in the best interest idea tá a fẹ́ ṣe ó lè má come out exact bí nǹkan tá a ṣe fẹ́.
and aside that ìyẹn ló fẹ́ take me lọ sí the second phase tí mo sọ wípé máa bá barrister sọ̀rọ̀ isn't that robbing that person of his credit as the creator of whatever was ẹ̀fẹ̀ àbí nǹkan.
who discovered that idea in him.
òun ló ṣe ẹ̀yin lè discover ẹ̀ pé ó ṣe but at least.
say listen to me let me tell you and to discover the idea you have is greater than your idea itself. Because your idea surely the biggest and the greatest of talents in the world over are in the cemetery. They were born with the ideas. They died with it. An idea untapped will die with the owner of the idea.
And sort of law by you.
Yes. No. You see, there's no way you delve into law. There are two theoretical frameworks. That's the theory of idealism and the theory of realism. The theory of idealism has a lot to do with morality. The theory of realism is law. Stricto sensu. That's what we call it. Law as it is. There is something we call law as it is and law as it ought to be. You understand? So anyway, let's not go into the theoretical understanding, deeper into legal and legal litigation and practice. But the idea is this. Think about an idea. Idea yẹn ó lè máa jà ràn-ìràn ní ara ẹ̀ lójoojúmọ́. Ọjọ́ tó bá tó réyàn discover idea yẹn lára ẹ̀ ọjọ́ yẹn ló tó discover ara ẹ̀.
Now ṣé nǹkan tẹ́ ń sọ ni pé tí mo bá kọrin kan fún àpẹẹrẹ o ṣé o mi ò kọjú bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ mo ti record ẹ̀ pàápàá o ṣé o mo ṣáà ń gbọ́ ẹ̀rọ orin tí mo ṣe but kò nítumọ̀ lè tí àwọn èèyàn ẹnìkan wá gbọ́ o ṣé o tá bá ṣe beat báyìí sí ó dẹ̀ máa dá o ẹni náà ká sọ pé ẹ̀yin ni ẹ̀yin wá mú o ṣé o tèmi ṣe ẹ̀yin wá sọ di o ṣé o gbìngbìn ẹ̀yin wá lọ tún ṣe nǹkan tẹ́ ń sọ ni wípé ẹ̀yin lè ní weight ju èmi tí mo kọ́kọ́ ṣe o ṣé o lọ.
Rárá.
Okay.
Now this is it. In law, you cannot stand on your right if you don't have evidential proof to support the assertion of your right. Like I said, evidential proof to support your right, you need it before you can actually stand up to say, look, I have a chapter 4 right. Do you understand? And let's be factual with something. I'm only going to explain this prima facie. That's in law, we say just on the face of it. Peripherally, I'm not going into the core. Into the core, we'll be bringing issues of statutory provisions, issues of, constitutional provisions, stare decisis, and precedents. But just, on the face of it, èèyàn tó bá ní idea tó ṣe ó ṣe o, tá idea ẹ̀ ò ní meaning, tó bá record idea yẹn, tó register idea yẹn tó dẹ̀ archive idea yẹn properly béèyàn kan bá lo òṣèò yẹn in the form in the doctrine in the direction in the pattern tó gbà lò ó á fún ní credit to whom credit is due tó bá modify ẹ̀ in such a way that reflects the original á fún ní credit or else that person will become a thief of such intellectual property. tó bá pé in writings we call the person a thief of writing tó bá copy nǹkan verbatim or there is a form that reflects plagiarism. You see, once we are able to trace the information used by you to the source, once we are able to trace the information used by gbogbo writer ó lójú writer tí ò kì í ṣolè, but it means if you are to be the thief you must also be an expert thief by so doing that the information created by you cannot be traced to the source.
You clean every traces.
It means that you can remodify an idea. It's not that you cannot remodify. In the study of political science, nobody is an island. You understand? You are not an island on your own. In law, according to Lord Dennings, a good lawyer knows the law, but a better lawyer knows where to find the law. You understand? Now, even the best lawyer knows where to combine the two. He knows the law and knows where to find it. You see? So, if you are going to tap into the ideas of somebody, that person has tapped into the ideas of somebody, that other person has tapped into the idea of somebody, you must remodify that idea that does not have a link to the source. But any idea that has a link to the source appropriately, and the source itself has a foundation of registration and then archive, then you will be a thief of such writing, or the hammer of plagiarism or the hammer of copyright will be falling on you.
Now, báwo lè ṣe lè register content, songs and all that there, but in this content by èmi ń sọ̀rọ̀ orin, musical theft, copyright, because more pé kọ́lá pé copyright.
You know something, see, there's nothing which is registrable that cannot be registered. Nothing, any instrument which is registrable can be registered. You understand? That is the case of Benjamin versus Kaleo. Any registrable instrument can be registered, including writing, songs, and all that.
But I'm registers.
Now, that is a professional consultation.
Okay.
But I made you understand the fact that whatever is registrable can be registered. Now, aside that, if you have a proof of your writing, if you have a proof of your song, if you have a proof of your intellectual right over something, and then we said the first in time, you see, when two equities are equal, the first in time prevails. It means two of them are laying claims to same rights. Which comes first? Which year did that come? Nígbà tí bàbá Benjamin Adekunle of blessed memory tí wọ́n record nǹkan ní 1972, tí wọ́n wá sọ pé wọ́n ló ní right yẹ ní 1989. Dúró ná. You need to explain. That is in law we call ibu jus, ibi remedium. When there's a cause, there's a remedy. And you allege must prove beyond reasonable doubt. Proof. That's all. You just have to prove the fact that because the matter becomes contentious, it becomes litigation. Do you get that? So, if you are the songwriter, even if you are a songwriter, and you decide to write a song for an artist, the question will ask you, what are the terms of the agreement? Major problem tọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ máa ń ṣe. I memorize orin ẹnìyàn kò dẹ̀ fún mi ní credit. The question will ask is, kí ni terms agreement yẹn?
Tọ́ ẹ kó kàn ṣe fún pé ẹ̀gbọ́n mi ni mo ṣe fún.
O ṣe fún lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́. So violent non-fit injury.
Ìtumọ̀.
You cannot concur to something and claim injury. Ìwọ ló belong sí àwọn bàbá wa náà ti pa lówe wọ́n ní tẹsẹ̀ bodò.
Ó ní.
Ó wá ń kígbe òtútù.
Òtútù.
Ó ń pẹ́ òtútù tó mú ẹ àbí kọ́ nìkan ha ẹsẹ̀
Kókó
yẹn.
fa ẹ̀jẹ̀.
You see, you cannot belong to something and then you want to claim. No.
So from the start ẹ ti gbọ́dọ̀ ní agreement.
Offer, acceptance, intention to enter into legal relationship, capacity to contract, then consideration. Consideration might not be adequate, but it's sufficient in law, even if it's just 1 naira. Ìgbà tẹ́ ẹni yẹn lọ ráì tó ní fún ẹ tó ra Coca-Cola fún owó náà fi ra Coca-Cola yẹn n ta pè ní consideration has been meted.
Tó bá yẹ pé ó right orin fún ìgbà tó ń lò fún ní owó mọ́tò rẹ̀ o.
Owó mọ́tò yẹn kí ló fún owó mọ́tò.
Ṣó ti cover.
Look, in legal determination, consideration is anything of value in the eye of the law. 1 naira might not be adequate. Ó lè má tó nǹkan tó yẹ kó gbà, but it is sufficient. Sufficient what? Sufficient consideration. Táwọn bàbá wa láyé àtijọ́, táwọn ìyá wa láyé àtijọ́, tó máa ń sọ fáwọn obìnrin pé wọ́n máa fún ẹ lówó ń ta, má gbà o. Anybody tó bá ti fún ẹ lówó, má gbà o. Nítorí pé owó yẹn ó lè má tó nǹkan tó yẹ kán fún ẹ, but tó bá ti gba owó kíni.
O ti gbowó rẹ̀ wọn ò ní béèrè pé lónìí.
Owó kíni o ti gbowó. Tí nǹkan kan bá ṣẹlẹ̀ tẹ́ni yẹn bá sọ pé mo fún ẹ lówó àdìwò mi ń wẹ̀. The question is owó kíni.
Our studio and the band ẹni ẹ make impute. Meanwhile employ ẹ nítorí pé ẹ mọ̀ pé fine guitarist ni àbí fine keyboardist ni ó dẹ̀ make impute ẹ ṣó lè claim sí right line to play yẹn pé òun ló ní.
Anyway, let me explain something to you. Shabadabadabada, shabadabadada, shabadabadabadabada, Díyà Òjó. Now, was he doing those things for free? No, he was being paid.
As a member of the band.
As a member of the band.
Or Konto the member.
He was even before he became a member, he was being invited to do one of two improvisation. And he was being paid. That payment he was being given was for what? The payment represents the remuneration for the improvisation he was doing.
So what's he paying off?
You don't have any other rights except there's a contractual agreement to the contrary.
Okay.
All rights belongs to the copyright owner of that project. The copyright owner could be the promoter. The copyright owner could be the marketer. The copyright owner could be the artist himself who went to bank to borrow money to finance his project. So the contractual dealing, an agreement might not be a contract, but a contract might be an agreement, is a legal discourse that if you look at it critically, you will understand what it takes for us to enter into an agreement. That the Latin words, consensus ad idem, it means the meeting of minds. Our minds must meet before we can say we want to do anything together. Ngba bá fẹ́ ṣe yẹn, you need to set the record straight. Láti ilẹ̀, the record has to be straight. If the record is not straight and you presume a contract, the court will also infer. But you should know that the court is not Orunmila. The court is not Ifa that will help you to deduce the minds of the parties to a contract. So intellectual property is so technical that whatever we have to do, we will look at it holistically. The artist will tell us ibi tó ti lọ yáwó, ibi tó ti rówó, owó tó rí, ibi tó ti book studio, ibi tó ti sanwó fún gbogbo àwọn instrumentalist, ibi tó ti, you see, So how do you want to lay claims to the ownership of the copyright when all you did was just to use your voice? Your voice is subject to be paid for. Your voice used is subject to be paid for. It means someone who bankroll the finances owns the copyright to it. The financier.
And including
you, the artist.
If not for that person, in the business, that's why.
That is correct. Only artist can enjoyment title. You pay title le. Most of artists you pay title yen. Mo register with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Only mo láti phone ni nǹkan kan mo lé mi mo ní ìwọ kọ́ ni.
Title tó ń
pera ẹ̀ gan. Èmi ni mo ní. Adé fi ṣeré adé gba.
Ẹ ti lò fún artist mi àbí?
Rárá mi ò lò fún artist mi.
Ẹ kàn ready.
Kan náà ló ní.
Okay.
Mo kàn ní ìdórúkọ yẹn.
Artist yín náà ní tẹ́lẹ̀.
Náà ni ẹ. Òun ló ní. Mo kàn ní ìdórúkọ yẹn. Mo fi orúkọ yẹn ṣe nǹkan kan. Wọ́n á sọ fún un pé orúkọ ẹ yìí o mo ti fi ṣe nǹkan bábàbà ó ní ó yẹ kẹ́ sanwó fún mi mo ní o ta ló fún ẹ lórúkọ èmi kọ́ mo fún ẹ lórúkọ ni ṣé orúkọ tó wọ́n ń pè ẹ́ nìyẹn èmi yáà mo sọ ẹ lórúkọ ó mo ti lóje ní bọ̀ ó yẹ kí jẹ́ ń bẹ̀ òun a dẹ̀ parí ẹ̀ síbẹ̀ because èmi gangan mo lórúkọ. You see that?
Ó dẹ̀ máa wà on ṣé subsist lẹ máa ń pè orúkọ tẹ register ẹ máa wà on for like how many years?
Ó máa wà on as long as I continue to still perform the responsibility of that name.
Okay.
You see, I use the name for something differently that is not related within the context of musical, understanding. It's not within that context.
Finally, Barrister, àwọn band boys kan not all àwọn band boys kan tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú Commander KSA àtàwọn top artists yẹn wọ́n máa ń sọ wípé látàyè alálùmọ́lẹ̀ àjọṣe kìíní ibi ọ̀rẹ́ ni àṣe record ṣùgbọ́n àwọn nìkan náà ń gba royalty all the sales tí wọ́n rí online àti offline gbogbo ẹ̀ àwọn ti ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn dànù 40 years back àwọn ò rí nǹkan kan. Do they have any chance under the law láti rí nǹkan gbà tó ń bá gbé wá sílé ẹjọ́?
The question is this. There are positions tó máa ń mú wa seek judicial interpretation to issues. A máa lọ bá ilé ẹjọ́ jọ. Báyìí kásá, báyìí káwòdì, ẹ bá wa wò ó lábẹ́ òfin. Kí ni òfin sọ tí situation bá rí báyìí? Èèyàn méjì wọ́n jọ pa business papọ̀. Mo fún yín ní pé ẹ bá ń kọ́lé yìí. Tí ẹ bá kọ́ ilé yẹn, màá san owó ilé yẹn fún yín. Tí ẹ bá kọ́ tán, ẹ wá gbà ẹ lè lówó lọ́wọ́ pé ẹ lè kọ́. You now went ahead to build the house. Wá kọ́lé yẹn dé certain stage. Ẹni tó gbé iṣẹ́ yẹn wá sọ pé ara o wọn ò bá sign contract kankan náà. Òfin ò ní wò bẹ́ẹ̀ o. You see, in offer and acceptance, there's something we call intention to enter into legal relationship. A máa ń infer contract. Pé sign, kókó sign. Ṣebí parole ni, ṣebí ẹnu la fi sọ, ṣebí verbal agreement ni. Òfin máa ń infer contract based on conduct of parties. Pé okay, so fún níṣẹ́ yẹn ó ti wá kọ́lé yẹn débi. Báwo ló ṣe máa kọ́lé débi tó ò dẹ̀ fún ní contract yẹn? Ìyí tó bá lè fi kọ́ ṣé modification ilé tó fẹ́ kọ́ rè ó ní modification ilé tó fẹ́ kọ́ náà ló kọ́ yẹn ó ní ìyẹn mean pé there's an agreement between the parties.
Dandan kan ni pé ẹjọ́ sign.
Rárá kò dìgbà tẹ́ bá tọwọ́ bọ̀wé client kan wá olóhùn àtìyàwó òun àtìyàwó àwọn lọ sí registry ó dẹ̀ ti bímọ fóun ní ẹ bá lọ wo òwe Yorùbá èèyàn bímọ fún ni ó kúrò lálé ó ti bímọ ó ti kúrò lálé òfin lè má wò wó àti ẹ̀ ń pẹ́ ń jà ìgbà tí ìfẹ́ ń dùn òfin ò rí yín ìgbà tẹ́lẹ̀ ń kùn síra yín náà òfin ò rí yín ṣùgbọ́n tó fi ń wò kí ni proceed àjọṣepọ̀ ẹ̀yin méjèèjì tẹ́lẹ̀ bá ti jọ para yín kí ni proceed àjọṣepọ̀ ọmọ tó wà láàrin yín ló fi fẹ́ protect. Èèyàn kan ní but aṣẹ́wó ni náà òfin sọ pé òun gbà ṣé bá aṣẹ́wó náà ni ó fẹ́ àdùpẹ́ ọmọ tó bí kò ń ṣaṣẹ́wó ọmọ yẹn ló fi fẹ́ protect. You see? So the reason tí òfin ṣe máa wò ń gbà mí nìyẹn pé kí ìwọ gba custody ìwọ gba maintenance ẹ ṣe jọ ṣe kí nǹkan tá à ń pè ní co-parenting kò sí ní tó kàn òfin pẹ̀lú yín nígbà tí òfin tófin bá so yín papọ̀ ó lè tú yín ká bí ó fi òdẹ̀ so yín papọ̀ ó lè olúkálùkù ẹgbẹ́nu dákẹ́ maintain status quo ìwọ dúró báyìí ọmọ yìí ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ tọ́jú ẹ̀ agreement wo lẹ sign pẹ̀lú ọmọ yẹn kẹ́ tó fà wá ní tipátipá so ọmọ yìí fundamental right of the child dandan ni so you see gẹ́gẹ́ bí nǹkan tá a sọ if I will not digress too farther into law tí àwọn band boys tán bá reach agreement pẹ̀lú band leader gbogbo ohun tí mo fẹ́ ta yìí o owó ni o yà tọwọ́ bọ̀ wí in senacline everything is contractual in senacline kó o tó wọ studio gan àwọn agreement oríṣiríṣi agreement for the percussionist tendency to actually play the percussion it will last for the next 2 weeks to play this percussion appropriately the way that it will suit the promoter 2 weeks contractual agreement sign àtọwọ́bọ̀wé iye báyìí lóhùn máa gbà the guitarist will work for as long as so to the satisfaction of kìnìkan to the exclusion of others this rhyme you are playing inú iṣẹ́ yìí o ní lè play ẹ̀ níbo mi assign ẹ̀ agreement the producer will produce this job to the satisfaction of the promoters until the board of directors of this company agree on that promotion before in sole context the promoter will sign as the head of the promoter in witness to legal representation to adé sign final but níbí yìí musiba o takini yẹn sí tintirin ó ń ta lọ nìyẹn so ti ta tán tó dẹ̀ ta yẹn dẹ̀ dá o ó wà pa gan ọjọ́ sáà ìgbowó mọ́tò ó ti gbowó ó ti lọ.
owó tó dẹ̀ ti gbà yẹn.
it serves as contract signed sealed and delivered.
wọ́n á béèrè lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ pé ṣé o gbowó kọ̀ọ̀kan owó mọ́tò ló fún mi.
ó ti gbowó you have collected money. Gbogbo nǹkan táwọn artists bọ̀ pọ̀lọpọ̀ though there are deeper understandings to nitty-gritty because for every material fact ni òfin máa adjudicate lórí. We are only creating scenarios, right? But you see, as much as we are creating scenarios, there are evidential proof of sins that we know because we are parcel and close to the industry. But I'll tell you, pé ní part of this world, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ máa tiẹ̀ kí ẹ̀ wò tí mo sọ yìí, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ worry. Ó dàbí ìgbà tá à ń ṣe joint tá à ń ṣe collaboration tá bá pé artist ilé ẹ wá ṣe collaboration nígbà tí mú wọn bá dé studio ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nínú wọn gan wọn mọ tó fẹ́ kọ àní òkè sórí wọ máa kọ ilé nǹkan tó máa dúró lé lórí nìyẹn tó bá get a máa stop ẹ a máa direct ẹ ìwọ nǹkan báyìí ló máa kọ lé lórí like the topic Romeo and Juliet artist ò mọ tó fẹ́ kọ we are directing them on what to sing and the pattern to do the pattern to go rather. You understand? So, in that context, economic artists might lay claim to the ownership of the entire project, which was sponsored by you. No, you can't. You see, when you inherit assets, you must learn to inherit what? Liabilities. You see, we shouldn't lay our focus on, the beautification and return of money only. What about the process? Process yẹn anybody ò fẹ́ gbọ́ process yẹn gangan dẹ̀ ní foundation you see you don't jump the gun and you don't put the cat before the horse you understand ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn pípò yìí wọn ò ní rò dáadáa ìtàn fẹ́ gbà tán fẹ́ jẹyàn lẹ́ẹ̀kan ní concern wọn so how do you want to lay claims later to the fact that you did not sign an agreement when you see in law there's something we call illiterate jurat bẹ́ẹ̀ni yìí illiterate ni ó dẹ̀ fẹ́ enter into nǹkankan ó ní láti lọ gba nǹkan tá à ń pè ní illiterate ẹni tó mú tó dẹ̀ wà incapacity tó lè bá tọwọ́ bọ̀wé tó lè bá sign tó bá sọ fún ẹ pé òun ni illiterate jurat ẹ tó bá ní tẹ̀wé wàá tẹ̀wé sí ibi wàá tẹ̀wé síbẹ̀ bam òun á bá sign síbẹ̀ òun ni illiterate jurat ẹ is one tó wà knowledgeable of capacity to sign on your behalf could be a lawyer could be your advocate could be a solicitor so that's the reason why tí òfin create a platform yẹn fún àwọn tí kò mọ̀ see there is age jurat there's illiterate jurors gbogbo ẹ̀ ló ṣe wà nìyẹn. So in this context now ìwọ guitarist àti ọgángan àti omele àti kọ́ọ̀dù tó fẹ́ lọ play sínú iṣẹ́ ó ti mọ̀ ń pé tó bá sọ pé ò ṣe ọ̀n tí tó bá fún ẹ lówó kan wọ́n lè pẹ̀lú mi. Àbí? Ìyìn tí ìwọ náà ṣe wò ó nìyẹn pé jẹ́ ń ṣe kí gbá.
Bẹ́ẹ̀nbẹ́ tán bá fún mi.
Ó bẹ́ẹ̀nbẹ́ kò bẹ́ẹ̀nbẹ́ jọ nítorí Ọlọ́run kí ni ìwọ kọ́ọ̀dù fẹ́ play tẹ́lómi ò ní play kónkólókun kónkólókun kókòǹkódó 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 kónkónkón ṣé n tó fẹ́ play nu ẹlòmíì à play ẹ̀. So nǹkan bá fún ẹ wàá gbà á ẹ ṣé o mo dúpẹ́ o wàá tún dúpẹ́. So how do you want to come back to say into play yẹn? Let me tell you something, see. Tí artist tó ti wà of status tó bá gbọ́ pé ẹ tó play chord sínú iṣẹ́ òun ó kùn pé òun ní right láti máa gba nǹkan lọ lórí iṣẹ́ yẹn ó lè ní ok ẹ yọ chord yẹn kúrò. Ṣé kò lè sọ bẹ́ẹ̀?
Ó lè sọ.
Wọ́n
tiẹ̀ máa ń ṣe.
chord ẹ yẹn òun la fẹ́ yọ yìí o. Mr. Chord gba 20,000 play chord yẹn sign ìwé àgbọ̀n sí ni sign ìwé ń pé chord tó fẹ́ play yìí o ò ní ṣe bí àwọn ará wájú o. Mo jẹ́rìí Wasiu Alabi Pasuma does not take any decision without consulting his legal team. Saheed Osupa does not take any decision without consult. You can see what happened in recent time pẹ̀lú Portable. Wasiu Ayinde even Damilola gan ọmọ ẹ̀ lọ́ọ̀yà ni. You see? So he consults widely on legal issues. But àwọn ibilende ni wọ́n ní consult properly.
Finally, shape Saheed Osupa wrong pẹ̀lú Portable.
No. Look, like we said, it's a legal principle. It's a legal principle that we said that when there's a cause, there's a remedy. Are you understanding me? Ubi just ibi remedial. When you feel aggrieved over the slightest opportunity, instead of gangsterism or criminality, resort to law. When you feel uncomfortable about assertions, about statements that assassinate your personality, that cast aspersion at your person, instead of resorting to crimes and criminality, instead of resorting to gangsterism, let the law, give the law the opportunity to give you a judicial interpretation to the direction the person is taking.
Now, is it wrong, or was it wrong for taking the case to Ilorin? Because a lot of people say, "Wow, Saheed Osupa fọwọ́lá gbá Portable lójú."
That is wrong. Please, where was the crime committed?
Online.
Online of what country?
Nigeria.
Does that not answer your question?
So Kwara State is still part of Nigeria.
The geographical placement or geographical position called Nigeria, is it in Republic of Togo?
So ó lè decide pé jẹ́ kí n gbé ẹjọ́ yẹn lọ sí Niger State.
Ó dàbí ọkọ àti ìyàwó tó fẹ́ra wọn lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Wọ́n separate. Ìyàwó ń gbé Èkó, ọkọ ń gbé Kaduna. Ọkọ lè gba Abuja lọ. Kò lọ raise petition bẹ́ẹ̀.
Pé kan tú yàgbéyàwó ká.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni. That is.
So tí court bá fẹ́ rí yàwó, á travel down to.
Well, àwọn náà gba lọ́yà ilé raise issue of convenience. Ọkọ náà dẹ̀ lè raise issue of convenience. Pé Kaduna ni mo wà, Abuja mo ti ń ṣiṣẹ́. Do you understand?
Wọ́n á kọ́ fà yẹn lọ.
Kí ló dé? You see? And in fact, dissolution of marriage, which we call the decree nicer and decree absolute, you can file a petition anywhere within the geographical placement of Nigeria. It does not mean that marriage registry can let it share. You can live anywhere. Section 41 of the Constitution allows you. You understand? Within the context of that freedom to move anywhere and live anywhere. You understand? Within the right of your Section 35 of right, to personal liberty. It means that you can adjudicate on your right anywhere if it is not lacking in jurisdiction. You understand? So matters that are lacking in jurisdiction, we go after the issues of jurisdiction so that the other party will not raise a preliminary objection. So it's right. It's right by law. He's right within the context of moral. He's right within the context of reasoning.
ẹ ṣé gan ni Barrister Dami Kolawole mi fẹ́ fàágùn jù kó má bàa gùn because mo sọ pé 2 hours la máa ṣe how many hours la ti ṣe 2 hours ẹja fílẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀.
A ti ṣe tó 2 hours. Ó ga o.
ẹ ṣé gan ni sir.
Olúwa ló ṣe o.
Thank you so much.
Ọlọ́run ló ṣe o. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín pé ẹ gbà wá láàyè láti gbóhùn wa díẹ̀.